It's
It's
call
like
the
the
meeting
clown's
to
getting
order.
out of
It
the
is
clown's
Wednesday,
heart, man.
December 5th, 2018. Please stand pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Okay. Have you, any minutes and reports received and filed since yesterday?
I do. Recorders November 2018 fees filed and clerk fees for 2018
Oh, man.
November filed.
Okay. I don't think we need to go over what we're doing this week, so.
Well, I just said what I was doing last night. I didn't do the rest of the week because we had a meeting today.
Oh, okay, what are you doing?
You mean just tonight since we have a meeting tomorrow?
Yeah. Yes.
No, just go. I'm just kidding. I don't have anything with any substance unless you want to help peel tomatoes or potatoes tonight. John's gonna be getting doused tonight. Dude, if I didn't have to peel potatoes, I'd be there for you.
You're such a liar, sir. No offense.
Is it at 4:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Closed session first.
Yeah, let's do closed session first.
I move we go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri for existing or proposed security systems, sub 19, and negotiated contracts, sub 12.
Second.
Roll call?
Sam?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes. We good? Okay, so talking about replacing all of our cots. And how many cots do we have currently? How many Furno cots do we have currently?
11, sir.
Okay, so this is replacing 10, or is it a
This is
replacement?
replacing 11.
11. So we'd just be replacing everything that we have currently and also putting,
So the loading
when we buy
system-
new ambulances, we'd be also putting the rail system in.
The loading system, yes, sir.
Right.
So any existing fleet that, so the existing fleet that wouldn't have the stretchers in it, they would have the loading system. So all ambulances would have the loading system, and then any new ones would also.
Okay. And so is this for, so 11 cots, is this for just 11 loading systems, or is it more?
14 loading systems, 11
14.
cots, and the maintenance agreement that would take it out for 7 years.
Okay. And that's the total of 591?
Yes, sir. And that would be spread interest-free over the 5-year payment.
And
And then
is-
also in there, there's the PO for the buyback of the, or the buying of the current system that we have.
Does that include the buyback, the 591, or is that?
No, sir, that's separate.
Okay. So there'd be additional money coming back of,
Approximately, I believe it's 88,000, sir.
okay. So would it be safe to say that year one, we would be paying the 118 less the 88?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is the 118 the right number? I thought it was 120.
It's actually 122, right?
Yeah.
122, 599, 45
Yes.
minus,
So this is the total.
Where are you seeing that number at?
Installation.
Oh, this
page
is-
2, be 5 number of payment.
It also includes installation, my bad. So,
Okay.
that's the total with installation.
Okay.
Is that the one we, I think we just got the email?
Oh, it was on the email?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
These are this first couple of pages.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So if you go on that first page, the annual payment would be
122,
122.
599, 45.
Yes, sir. So what that includes is the 11 stretchers, 14 power loads, which is the loading system, a total of 7 years of maintenance and installation for all of them.
So we looked at them, was that last week?
A couple weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and we had them side by side.
Right.
So, it's a totally different product. The ones we do have now, we unfortunately spend a lot of money on those two, but they're failing. This is gonna be better for, employee health.
So they're approximately 50 pounds heavier, the current ones we have. Also last night, in my shift reports that our battalion chief sent us, we had one that we had to take out of service last night because from an electrical, what they believe that there might have been an electrical fire in it from the charging system.
And with these, that would be fixed. We'd be getting a phone call within 48 hours, or somebody be here to service it. We have somebody,
Yes.
not like local Jeff City, but in Missouri that services it, so.
Yes, sir. Correct.
I thought we were getting the best of the best with the Furno, but that has not proven out to be so.
Did you speak with Dale on the, on any issues with MEM and the grant that they?
So I did. I have an email from them saying that they do not have any problems. What they'll do is they'll still track the grant part because it's a like system. And I forwarded that to Kristen, his email. He said he had no problem with it at all.
So, I mean, I don't like the fact that we made this purchase on these other cots, but anyway, I see that we would spend probably close to this. Well, we would spend a lot more than this, you know, this first year than the 122 less the 88. I mean, obviously, if we wait 2 or 3 years on the Furnos, we're gonna have maintenance costs, and then we're gonna have cots that aren't worth anything. And so,
How many do we have down right now? I mean, we're gonna
So I
have, we're gonna have
believe it's-
ambulances sitting there
I
that we
believe it's
can't use
3
because we don't
currently.
have cots.
I believe it's 3 currently. So I
So-
know there's one sitting in our bay currently that's down with a one that last night. I haven't gotten to the office yet. And then we had one that that had been sent off, and I don't think we received it back yet.
and so, then we had also talked about some $31,000 for maintenance for some of the Furno cots that we would have to pay.
Yes, sir.
This,
So
this next year.
That's correct. So if you took that amount, that what we're gonna be getting in the buyback, plus the amount that we would have to pay for that service contract, it would be not a wash, but a near wash, for this year.
I mean, roughly, those cots are $35,000, $40,000 if you buy them every year, plus, you know, rising costs as they go up, and so we would be spending $70,000 to $80,000 a year to replace the cots, and so, you know, and that doesn't include any maintenance contracts, so I really think we're talking about spending the same amount of money on a yearly basis.
For better product.
Yeah.
So what was the bill for the replacement wheel for that last Furno cot?
So for the wheel, they sent us
$353.
$353
Yeah.
or $343 for a rubber plastic type wheel that they said
And it
was,
took how long to get that?
4 to 6 weeks. I think it was 6 weeks that we waited for it.
So, yeah, so this is gonna be done in a couple days.
And
At
and those
most.
are the things that are covered under that service contract
Yeah.
with them,
So,
whereas Inferno, the
They
one
come
we have
in,
is not.
they fix it, put it on, provide the material or for the wheel or whatever, so, yeah.
And most of our stretchers our current ones are going out of warranty, and then are either out of warranty or going out of warranty in the next 6 to 7 months.
I mean, I think we move forward and replace them all. Go ahead.
Just before you vote, we need to do this sole source.
Okay. Thoughts?
Yeah, are we doing that, we gotta do that before the end of the year?
We gotta do that before we vote on this.
That's right.
No, I meant with this, we're doing that 2018. We're not gonna do this in 2019's budget, so we're,
If you're approving the contract today, you will need to do a transfer and get the money in there so we can encumber it.
okay. So we got that all covered, we know what we're doing on that?
And then we're encumbering the amount for year one.
And then we could take,
But there will be, I mean, there will be the same amount in next year's budget, because I guess payments due annually, so if you have one payment right now, you're going to have another payment in December of next year.
so I asked that question specifically, and they said that it would be net 30. And so it would be next year when it would be due, right? So 19, and then the following year it would be 20. So I asked that specifically if it was going to be due at time of order or after the fact, and they told me that it would be at that net 30, right? So we technically wouldn't have to pay it until that that next fiscal year. So
Well, that's fine, but signing the contract today to encumber the amount, it will have to go into 18th budget.
Right,
I'm fine with
PO
that.
can carry forward and
Right.
not be paid until January. But
Right.
it will also have to be in 19th budget to pay that PO.
right.
So either way, it's gonna have to go in both years' budgets. Whether you pay it out this year or not, it still has to be encumbered in the funds of this year since you're signing the contract.
So, and I understand that, but then, obviously, the trade-in would come back into their capital purchases and
So
also,
that same fund, yes.
okay. And then did you have the maintenance contract for Furno in your 19 budget?
no, sir, that was not in there.
Okay, so there wouldn't be any money coming back on that.
No, sir.
So how come we didn't put that in there?
It wasn't submitted, we don't have one.
Yeah, so it was, because we were headed down this path, we
Okay.
excluded that.
That's fine. All right, I'm gonna shut up. What do you think?
So when we get a new ambulance and transfer them over to the new ambulance,
That's correct. That's one of the good things about this system is so as we start deadlining ambulances, we could take this system out. We would just have to pay a different install fee, right, $1,000 or $1,500 to have it put back into the new system. The new trucks though, so some manufacturers charge only $500 to have the system, right, basically the railing system installed, and then the power load when we would obtain it, we would just have it transferred over. It takes about 45 minutes or so to transfer it.
okay.
But they'll
Well-
all come pre-wired. The ambulances themselves will have pre-wired for it.
Okay. I don't think I have any more questions. I'm gonna move ahead with it. So we got the sole source first.
You wanna move ahead with replacing all of them, all 11 cots and the loading system?
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I'm at too. You got the sole source there, Debbie? Thank you.
It's still 2018, so I'll say yes to this one.
I'm still waiting for the no.
Oh, yeah, about 20 days, 25 days.
I move that we approve the sole source for Stryker Medical.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jill, you reviewed this,
I have it here, the contract.
yeah,
Oh, I have it all tagged out.
okay, perfect.
Matt, when will we actually take this into session and when will
But
we
Lynn
turn
needs to
in?
pick who gets assigned.
Physical possession is this year.
It's this year.
What am I doing?
Turn-in will be next year, because they gotta get installed.
I get to sign?
And then it's half, and then 45 days later, it's the other half. is the way
Although,
that works.
I forgot he was.
If we're spending money, I like letting him sign.
Where it
Yep.
says Sam, that
Just have
means
to-
should be Jeff.
Okay,
Have to strike that.
I got the whole thing.
strike that.
We can do it.
There, customer
Yeah,
signature.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, for the, Jeff signing the contract, I don't sign that.
Today, 5th.
Yeah.
We got to vote on it first.
Right.
Jeff pulling the Sam and already signed
Yeah.
it.
I move that we sign a contract with Stryker for 11 cots, 14 loading systems, and
Okay, Sam does it.
Second.
maintenance contract.
And installation.
And installation? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Where? Okay. Sign
There
there,
again.
too.
This is why I like letting somebody else do this part.
Well, there's a lot of spots on this
And Jill, that's the one that's got the total.
Where you at? That's not good. Sure.
Should be.
This is the last one in the brokerage.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Okay, good.
All righty, I think I got them
You're
all.
done?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so Matt,
Welcome back.
you're gonna need to then phone them.
We'll update the rest of it.
Me too.
I was just
And then Matt's gotta ask you stuff, and then
reading about the stock market.
Steve and.
Went back
I
down
don't know how
yesterday.
Stryker stock did.
Yeah, so there's just some.
Gonna do better.
On this contract.
Right,
And
okay.
then I'll bring
We
it
just,
back.
will it be,
Yes.
We voted to replace all of them.
okay, good.
All right.
Did you hear me?
Thank you, gentlemen.
We voted to replace
Thank you.
all of them.
Yeah, we done. Except the budget stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
When will they start arriving next year?
As soon as I get that, back, hopefully today or, I'll put it in our system and then they're already aware that it was a possibility. So, we will have these here within a few weeks.
Okay.
Before the end of the year.
Great.
Well,
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
bringing them out for us to see, that helped.
Yeah, it's,
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
Thank you. If you guys wanna come down to training sometime, I'll be doing in-service for, I'm sure, meetings, so.
Okay.
Come on down.
All righty.
Let us know when you're doing that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Come check
Thank
it
you.
out.
Thank you.
Okay, we wanna start at the front and just work our way back, or how do we wanna do
The
it?
easiest way to do it at this point,
We're gonna work out of the,
of course, is me. 25.
we're gonna work out of the book, or we're gonna work off the computer, or both,
I'm
or?
just gonna have it for you.
I think
Okay.
go in order of the book, and Debbie will go as we get to.
Oh, my goodness.
You might want-
I'm gonna get rid of a cup of coffee. Kristen wants anything else, just let me know. You said
And the answer's
No,
right?
no.
You're waiting for no.
Hey,
It's not, I'm not the one that needs to hear no.
you know, I did
That
find
email
out
thing.
how Cape Girardeau County's commissioner, emergency management is paying for his vehicle.
No.
I don't know, I'm gonna find out.
No.
I'm gonna find out. That, you know, that,
Well, all these other
Reception last night.
commissioners have vehicles.
yeah, I think so, whether it comes out of emergency
Do
management
they still have road districts?
I don't know.
or the
think
collector's
that's why
office
some
or
of them do.
something, it's.
I don't know, I just see all these commissioner vehicles and
Oh, yeah.
commissioner license plates and
Yeah.
everything else, so.
Yeah, we feel
A lot
left
of times they have
out.
more than one. I think old Clint, he's got a Suburban.
Well, we had,
Clint from Cape Girardeau.
yeah, Trish had, that was really interesting, that young man.
I'm like, it feels dark in here. Okay,
Okay, what page are we gonna start on?
25.
25.
So there won't be any bonds or insurance coming out of yours?
We're hoping hoping to get those paid before the end of the year, so
Okay.
they would get paid this year for 4 years.
Okay.
And will you reach out to Dot Not? They're the only ones I'm waiting on. I received Tico and, Central Bank.
What's her name again?
Joyce?
The only increase in your budget looks like it's salaries.
Right.
Okay.
We tried to reduce what we could, so we dropped mileage a little bit, and that bottom came out, so.
I don't have any issues with the
No.
omnibus budget.
No, I don't either.
So next up is collector.
Obviously, we're gonna talk about salaries later, right?
Yeah, well, I figured we'd do all the salaries at one time.
That's fine.
So we had to take a mandatory reduction in our tax rate because of the rollback. So you see taxes went down some,
Where are you at here?
page 27,
Right?
top of the page. So
Okay.
taxes is property taxes. We're about 1.4 this year was projected. We're expecting next year to be about 1.2. But Larry's fees will go up slightly again due to the increase in the school district's tax rates.
Can we talk about that a little bit? I mean, obviously, the rollback affected the tax rate, but we have more property that should have come on this year. So I don't understand why our revenues are going down.
I don't really think they offset each other, and we don't always collect 100% of the taxes we charge.
Well, when we go to figure out what the rollback is, we have to actually look at what the assessed value is.
Mhm.
And then we go back to the year before to see if our sales tax guess was right, we had to add more. It should balance out, but it's not gonna balance out. It's supposed to
Well-
level each other out, but
Well,
not in the
so-
same year.
So you're seeing the increase in sales tax though, so the
Right.
transfer in line in Larry's budget is the sales tax coming in,
Okay,
and you're seeing an increase in that line,
okay,
but they don't offset exactly.
all right.
I mean, the total amount's not going to be exactly the same in both,
So,
just because of a timing issue.
so you're down about 140, is that right?
And we use Debbie's calculation as far as what she uses to determine what the tax rates would get us. So when she talks to you about the levy,
Right.
she kind of tells you what the increase or decrease in total taxes is gonna be. We've kind of plugged that into what we actually brought in and reduced it by the amount we're expecting. It may be more than that, because we do have those delinquencies and things like that.
And so, my concern is that as the county grows, our revenues are not growing. So obviously, our revenues on Larry's side, on what he's collecting, are down 140,000. The rollback is only increasing by 74,000. And so, I mean, I get what you're saying and that they're not offsetting, but at the same time, we're limiting our ability to grow the revenue coming into GR.
Well,
I mean, it's never growing.
so
And
we've
it should be
taken.
growing yearly.
Well, we've taken a very conservative approach when we're doing our sales tax figures in the budget. We have decided that we only take the increase that we have received in the current year in our projection for the next year.
Okay?
So we're holding it flat at the end of the year, saying we're only going to budget what we know we received the previous year. We're not estimating any growth in that sales tax figure in the budget itself. So we're kind of doing it to ourselves. So we've been seeing about a 2% increase
Less something, but yeah.
in the sales tax. but we're not projecting the 2% increase, we're projecting it flat.
Based
Right.
on actual, right?
Right, we're
Yeah.
using, we're only growing it for what we grew in the previous year.
Correct.
Right, but so then I look down at total estimated revenues, which should take all this into account. And there's maybe a few other little things in there but when I look at 17, it's 6.197 million.
That's a projected figure.
No, 17.
Actual
Yep,
activity.
17 should be, we should have hard numbers on 17.
yes,
And then your projections for 18 should be pretty close.
Cash versus accrual.
right.
Or am I wrong?
Well, so the activity in 17, you're seeing accrual numbers. The numbers in 18, you're seeing cash numbers.
And 19, what just made, yeah,
There's differences in accounting, so we do accrual basis for our financial statement, so once we've completed the year and done our audit, our previous figures are accrual basis. So you back out January, February, and you
Right.
add in the following year's January, and February to get what the tax year was, not what the calendar year was.
and any bills that were due in prior year go back to that year. So it's kind of hard to compare cash basis to accrual basis, is what I guess we're saying.
Especially in his department, because there is a large amount of difference there.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is that, I mean, different forms of accounting, but and if you could see the same accounting and you could see the activity growing, but if it's staying flat with increase in sales tax, there's a problem there.
What's the use tax bringing in? Because when we were at MAC, I mean, Miller and some of those counties were talking, they're seeing like a 40% increase
Our use tax
on use
is up
tax.
quite a bit, it's in 127 though, it's not in
Okay.
Larry's budget,
Okay.
so we'll get to that.
But
Okay.
these are I mean, the use tax is kind of self-sufficient, I mean, but
Well,
This-
it
this-
varies a lot more than
There's no way
than
to,
any other tax, because there's no, it is self-reporting, and it's based on usually larger purchases, so there is not a good way to predict use tax.
Okay.
I mean, it
think
varies
it would
from year
follow
to year, so
sales
you could have
tax.
a really good year in use tax, and the next year have a really bad year. Some of the construction and things that we have going on right now, we usually see a spike with that construction. So like the new school being built and
Right.
things like that, when the new Walmart got built, we will see it drop back off.
and you would think it would follow sales tax? No way, it hasn't ever followed sales tax.
Not growth.
I mean, my concern is that if we see a lot of growth in the county, say, next year, and we keep offsetting the rollback from the sales tax for our revenues, I mean, we're not growing GR, and we're not growing this portion. I mean, we're offsetting the amount of taxes collected by the rollback from EMS. And if that number continues to stay flat, how do we function? I mean,
Then the rate doesn't go down as much, so then you would get more taxes in.
right, but, so if we look at 17 and we're at $6.2 million, and we're not growing 18 by a minimum of 2% or whatever the tax rate is, I mean, then there's a problem. I mean, I realize how we budget, we're budgeting flat, but if we had 2% in sales tax growth for 18, for the whole year, we should see 2% in growth in the total revenues here. But I don't think that's happening. I think that we're staying pretty flat. I mean, I think we're just a total offset, and so we never see any growth.
Well, so our budget for 18 was in the sales tax that's coming into general fund was 3,766, and the projection at the moment is 3,802, or 3,831 actually, because we've updated it since we
Right.
projected the first time. So you are seeing growth there.
But it's being offset by the taxes collected.
But really, our assessed valuation from year to year, from 17 to 18, the way we figured was less than 1%. So there wouldn't be any growth there either, much of none, if we didn't have the rollback going on, is what I'm saying. Those are the percentage it goes up. So the assessed valuation, it also depends on who pays and who doesn't, I get that. But our assessed valuation didn't go up that greatly. It's less than 1% here. So if that was going up a lot more and we didn't see the money in, I would say that doesn't work. But, so, I think it balances itself out. I understand what the rollback does, but, yeah, it gets bad when some counties depend solely on sales tax instead of property tax. That becomes very risky for that county. Us, it's not as much, we're not doing, we are keeping up with the sales tax.
You are still sales tax dependent at the moment.
Right,
But
Well-
we had $10 million in growth,
not as much as some counties. Uh-huh.
right? Where's
That's just,
where's the extra money? That's where I'm at.
well,
So go to your spreadsheet for your,
rollback.
well,
We can move
your
on if
rate,
you guys want. I mean, I don't want to dwell on this forever, but
when you did your tax rate and stuff for them.
This is all of them. This, or
What was that first spreadsheet you had at the top?
it's just road and bridges right here. Can't use this mouse too good. You want me to stop on general here?
Go back up to assessed valuation though. The increase in the assessed valuation
Oh.
from last year to this year.
Right on that first page. But you don't get to use the personal property, so 114, 104.
1409.
1409 to 1414. Which is what that spreadsheet showed. So that's less than a 1% increase. 0.07.
Well, and when you're talking cents on the dollar, it's not that large of an actual
Oh, no.
dollar increase.
It's not, compared to,
Million divided by 100 times the general fund rate.
I think we ended up with $51,000 difference. If we wouldn't
In
have
total
rollback.
taxes, yes.
I think I wrote it somewhere. I usually write it to the, sorry. Usually write it to the side here, so. There. Well, ours actually went, I don't know if that was a playing around one or not. See, in for Road and Bridge, it was like $41,000 difference.
More, yes.
Yes.
So-
So that's the one you could look at.
Yeah, so the total in assessed valuation for Road and Bridge, who didn't see a rollback,
Kept the rate the same.
yeah, their rate stayed the same. They only saw an increase in actual dollars of 41,000.
So it's. And that's if everybody pays.
Yes, that's if 100% of the people pay.
Yes. Which Larry, I'm sure will make them pay.
I mean, I think the rollback is great. Not in favor of raising taxes, but I don't know how we take on more streets and we build more streets and we maintain more streets and we get $41,000 a year more. I mean, and GR's the same way, we're getting even less, so.
Well, you have to take into consideration too, that there were multiple years where we took a voluntary reduction. Road and Bridge, we have not been growing their tax rate by the ceiling. We've been taking a voluntary reduction,
And that lowered our ceiling.
and that lowers our ceiling, so every
Every other, yeah.
even or odd, or
Yeah.
it takes our ceiling back to that point completely. So building in that inflation and going to the ceiling, you're kind of holding that tax. You're not increasing it, you're not moving with inflation, you're holding the tax at the same rate.
Yeah, I mean,
Not gonna happen.
I guess my comment is, I mean, I don't want to grow government, but at the same time, we can't keep rolling back things. Because otherwise there's not enough funds to fund government. I mean, and if we're taking on more roads, like the Parkview subdivision and some of these other roads, we're taking on more road miles, we can't keep maintaining those with just a little bit of money to take on more roads. So, I think it's something that we have to really think about. I'm not saying we need to do something different, but when the economy's growing and our funds aren't growing, that becomes an issue. I mean, at some point, GR can't give raises to their employees because we don't have additional funds to do it.
Those voluntary rollbacks that the county took, we'll never get those back.
It was a vote of the people, so it'd have to go
Oh,
back.
the
The
voluntary.
voluntary ones that we took, it will grow again, but
Yeah.
if you
Can't
take
go
one,
back.
I can't remember if it's an even numbered year or an odd numbered year, one of the two. If you take a voluntary reduction, it reduces your ceiling by that amount
Going forward.
going forward.
But the rollback this year was not a voluntary one.
No, it was the one because of the terminology in the ballot language. It is not considered a voluntary.
And it is cheap.
A voluntary would be if you rolled it back and you took more of a rollback than you
Right.
were required to.
We did that in a couple of years.
Yes, you took a voluntary reduction.
But we've not done that in the road and bridge.
You
We
used to,
did years
because
ago.
you
We
held it
did.
at
We
27
did. Right.
for a long time.
Yeah.
So in those years, when you held it at 27, you were taking
Changing.
a voluntary reduction. And we're seeing some of those effects now because of the taxes that Larry collects that are delinquent. You're seeing those delinquent rates still being at a lower rate, so it's kind of compounding itself. Because you're still seeing the effects of those because he's collecting those years that we took voluntary reductions at a lower rate.
Based on that rate of that year.
So I mean, my concern is with the ballot language at some point. We keep reducing the taxable amount through the rollback. At some point, I think the taxable amount will be zero and everything will be done through the rollback.
Sales tax keeps growing, yes.
So there will be no, I mean, the tax rate for GR for everybody will be zero. And you can't go beyond zero. But then you're you're in that situation that you talked about is we're 100% sales tax reliant.
Yeah.
And we're zero
NGR.
taxable reliance. So I think that becomes the issue. So if the sales tax tanks in that year or something happens, it could really affect us in a negative manner.
But
If it keeps growing.
well, if sales tax would tank, in the next year, you would property tax again.
The levy would have to go
It would
up.
have to go back up.
But if it became
Well,
more, that would be
but
the
you're-
issue.
But you're behind.
But, and I see what you're
Right,
saying.
there is a timing issue, so we saw quite a windfall at the beginning when we implemented this because of the timing difference.
Yes.
The rollback does not take effect until the end of the year when you're doing property taxes, whereas the sales tax kicked in at the beginning of the year. So if you would ever go the other way, we would have to pay that back in because of the timing difference going the opposite direction.
Well, I mean, so technically if we got to zero, it could go probably below zero. I mean, actual tax rate, not that you would refund it, but, I mean, mean, so,
We just wouldn't set a levy.
Right, you just would not set a levy.
right. I mean, even though it did tank, you still may not get to where you're taxing people.
There could be a year there coming back too, if the sales tax came back up. I get what you're saying, it's all about a philosophy of whether you put the tax on the property or you put the tax on every citizen in this county buying something.
So I just think something for us to think about. Obviously, we've gone from, where were we at, 35 cents?
Yeah, 30, up to 33.
We were at 35 cents per $100 evaluation. And we have rolled it back and we're close to a nickel, 6 cents, 7 cents. I mean, just food for thought, and I'm not saying we need to do this, but anyway, at some point, we need to stop it. I mean, when we get to a nickel or whatever, it needs to stop.
I think the only way to stop that at the moment would be going back to a vote of the people, because right now, the ballot language that they approved is a 60% rollback of property taxes, because you have the half cent sales tax.
Right.
So in all reality, it should be evening itself out. You should be collecting as much sales tax as you rolled back in your property tax. But there is a timing difference. We're estimating what we think we're going to collect in sales tax when we set our levy.
And then we go back, and what we did, we make those adjustments.
Right. So you have to do an adjustment on the next year for what it actually came out as compared to what you estimated it to be.
So I see it this way, so obviously, we keep rolling back and everybody else keeps adding.
Yes, I agree, other levies,
Yeah.
fire,
So,
school.
school district, fire district, everybody keeps adding to the levy, and we keep going back. And that's great, but at the same time,
Those
we
places
need.
are not collecting sales tax either.
Right, true.
True. But at the same time, if those two numbers aren't growing every year, there's a problem.
Well, so one of the issues with the calculation this year was last year at the end of the year in December, they sent us a supplemental tax revenue distribution. So we got $1 billion something
Yeah. I
in
estimate.
December
Mhm.
beyond what we normally would have gotten in 17. We expected that was additional things because they were behind in processing and things like that. That we were gonna get our normal distribution in January. Come to find out, our distribution in January was less by that $1 million because they distributed it early. So in the calculation this year,
200,000.
the amount that we had to use for our 17 total was inflated by that $1 million. We are going to turn around this year, and I'm expecting to be about $1 million less because of that supplemental that came in at a different time.
But then again, I estimated based on the first 6 months, so I should be estimating right next, well,
No,
it'd
because,
still be off.
yes,
And then the
so-
next year, yeah, it should be.
so that supplemental distribution of taxes is not helping the situation.
Well,
But it's a good thing to be thinking about, you're right.
I mean, if the legislature were to ever tax online sales, you'd see that number go to zero in a hurry. I mean, if they'd ever get local sales tax put on online sales, that tax number would be zero.
Would that go to use tax or would it go to sales tax?
It'd be a sales tax.
Sales tax versus use tax?
I don't know, it's gonna depend on how they determine how they would do that.
I think there's already been some legislation introduced.
Is it sales or use tax?
I think it's sales tax. I got something on it yesterday.
Yep.
I haven't looked through all of yesterday's yet.
I mean, I get it, and my wife and I have had that conversation, and she buys stuff on Amazon too, and, you know, it's tax-free, and I think that's a crock.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, it's a benefit, but people aren't reporting that on use tax. And even at that, we're still not getting it for EMS, for sheriff, or road and bridge. I mean, do those people use that stuff in this county? Yeah, they do. They should be paying it.
Well, if that works, then this will go down to zero very fast.
I mean, it's unfair to
then
local
people-
retailers too.
Oh, yeah. I know.
So,
But then most people would think, well,
But
I ain't
so-
buying
so-
stuff online because it's tax-free. I buy it because it's convenient. Do you have cab lights for a 2008 Dodge truck in your
Mhm.
store?
Yeah, it's in the basement.
I mean,
I know what you're saying.
No, I
but
know,
mean,
yeah.
I didn't, I don't do it because it's
It is a
tax-free. and I
convenience.
wish they would just put the taxes on
And,
there.
Right.
and for the consumer.
And I would hope they can get that fixed, because I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with it.
So, I mean, as long as sales tax is increasing and it increases to the point where our property tax is zero, we're still coming out ahead because you're still collecting more money than you would have. It would be if we ever saw it go back down, that would be where it would hurt us because of especially the timing difference and whether or not it actually got us to the point where the property tax kicks back in.
At some point, I just like, I mean, obviously, there's some things in there where distribution payments in different years, but I mean, it'd be nice to see that, say, 14, we were at 5.5 million total, 15, we were at 5.7 million total. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
that
just
there
hard
is
to
an
do.
increase in either property taxes or sales tax, or both, or the combination.
The hard part is that
It's not the same year.
so you have the people that pay delinquent. So, you know, I could go in and tell you this was our total assessed valuation. If we charge the 35 cents, which is our ceiling, this is the amount I would have collected. That may not actually be the amount that I would have collected because I'm collecting delinquent taxes as well. I'm not collecting 100% of that assessed valuation amount. So it's hard to determine at this point. I mean, we could give you an estimate of what it would be, but that's not going to be a clear picture of, hey, this is what we would have collected in taxes and this is what we wouldn't have.
I'm just
And
saying, I
then-
mean, you're gonna have a certain amount of delinquent taxes you're gonna collect every year, and it may be at different tax rates, but, I mean, in 15, we collected X, in 16, we collected X. I mean, there's gonna be some anomalies when you get a disbursement that's early. It's gonna affect some things, but.
Well, that's true, but we also write off taxes every year. So we have a certain amount of taxes that we write off of our books every year.
Well, wouldn't those all stay pretty consistent?
They have
Somewhat.
been, we're between, I'd say, 2.5 million, 3 million, whatever.
I mean, and in the rollback calculation, there is also a 2% adjustment for that allowance for people not paying. So, I don't know, what is that, 2%, or how much is that? Delinquent, that is.
Probably fairly close to 2%. You're collecting about 98% of taxes, so
Right.
2%
If that
is
difference-
probably
If that
fairly
difference
close.
switches, I mean, some county probably have a bigger delinquency than 2%.
That's really not bad.
No,
So then that's.
It really isn't.
It
Still
was 5
balanced.
million when I started as collector, so it's going.
But you also have somewhere between 3 to 5 years to pay your delinquent taxes.
On personal property, we don't write it off till after 5 years. Where Skip was writing them off after 3 years. Real estate,
3.
we put it up for sale on the 3rd year, so it's pretty much 100% collectible.
So, I get it.
Okay, done.
Anything else in the collector's budget you want to talk about?
Postage is going up, I guess.
Yeah, it will be.
It did. It did, and it probably will again.
Yeah, it's going up.
We should buy all our stamps now.
I think in January it's going up again.
Get the forever stamps.
Is that just
Stock up
mailing
on
out?
them.
What's that, mailing out tax bills?
Tax bills, delinquent tax notices,
a change in the way you did your delinquent notices. He used to run them through the machine and it didn't get charged to you. Now it is because you're mailing them through someone else.
No, I think we still do the delinquent ones.
I thought somehow we were charging you for the next,
I have to look and see.
okay. But we don't get that bill until the end of December, so you'll see the 17,823 was what he spent in 17. We only budgeted 17,444. So we're also projecting that it's going to increase again, so.
Oh, that's revenue.
Okay. And the tax maintenance funds, like Larry's
Yep,
discretionary fund.
yes.
Good.
Treasurer, again, hit the amount that his office has. Beyond salaries is fairly small, and it did increase slightly. Communications are up a little bit, and publications are up.
So you wanted to cut publication, Drexel? Wall Street Journal.
I pay
I'm
for,
not sure
I
that that's necessary.
I pay for my own.
I'm not sure that that's necessary.
Yeah.
No, I sat in my office and was reading about the stock market yesterday. Treasury notes went down.
It has increased quite a bit since we started paying for that.
Is that all the publications that he gives? Is that?
Yeah.
I wait and let it expire, and then they come up with all the stuff, and I think it ends up costing me about $400 a year.
And then under him,
46.
under him is also the school fund and the tax overplus, which is on the next page, but
I would think that he would have other publications that he would read or whatever, but he's looking at me like
Some of those he might.
that. Scooby-Doo.
I didn't say anything.
I thought we took it out last year.
So what's the,
You
what's
probably
this?
need to decide now though, so we can cancel it before
Yeah.
the first of the
What's-
year.
What's the school fund?
School fund is fines and penalties charged that Donnell brought up yesterday, so.
That she
it
gives
is-
the county.
That she gives the county, it actually goes to the schools. So, he collects that and financial institution tax, he does a one-time distribution of those. Well, financial institutions in December and in January, and then fines and penalties is once a year distribution to the school district. And then tax overplus is the money that Larry collects over and above the taxes owed on properties that he does on the tax sale. After a certain amount of time, that gets put into the school fund and distributed as well.
How'd they get all that?
There's not much they can do, except for give it back out.
So when you say the schools, I mean, it goes to all the schools?
It does, the clerk has a calculation that they do on fines and penalties, and the distribution of the taxes is set by the state. They send it to us and tell us what each school district gets.
On your tax bill for commercial property, there's like a separate line item.
Surtax.
Yeah, surtax. So why does that goes to schools too, doesn't it?
No, it's the convoluted calculation that we got ourselves in trouble with a few years ago, that we were calculating it incorrectly. So it takes like the 1984 amount that you were paying in property taxes and how much you were collecting in each district, and then it takes that times the 58 cents is the levy.
It's a statute, or a
Yes,
statute that was
it's-
passed at that time.
When does that go away?
I don't think there is a go away. It replaced the personal property tax on commercial businesses. They now pay a surtax instead of.
I learned way more about that about 10 years ago than I ever wanted to
Yes.
know.
Has it been
And
that
I've
long?
forgotten it since, so.
So what do you mean it eliminates personal property on businesses?
So like instead of them paying for like the machine or whatever, inside of like a manufacturing, they now pay a surtax instead of a separate, I don't know.
So they pay a percentage of the.
It's a separate levy, so it's like
Based on
58
what
cents.
the taxes was then, right?
Right,
But so.
but it changes from year to year on what your percentage of that is. It's a fun, long, involved spreadsheet.
So
of how you
commercial
determine it.
businesses are still paying personal property tax on equipment?
I think
Because-
it's a difference between what the type of equipment is, like, I
Okay.
don't know that it's not like a truck or a,
Right,
that kind of thing, I'm
but
not
it,
exactly
but it probably
sure.
doesn't include big manufacturing machinery, I'm
Probably not.
guessing.
Probably.
Okay, because I know certain businesses, you know, $5 or $6 million machine, they're taxed on that.
I'm not exactly sure what the requirements
Larry,
are.
yeah.
Yeah, he could give you a better, I've tried to
Okay.
block out the surtax stuff other than that.
Okay.
What we had to pay back.
Election service fund,
So,
is that?
county clerk
Steve's?
first.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
33,
Got to quit listening.
he did get a grant that we did not have the information for when the budget was proposed. I'm still not sure I have the paperwork from him, so there will be some, have a grant funds that need to go into his budget yet. They were waiting on paperwork from the state.
That'll be revenue coming in then.
Revenue coming in and expense going out, it'll be in that HAVA expense line. He has some HAVA fees that he collects as well that go through that HAVA expense line, but, some of the big things in his budget is gonna be, equipment service contract.
Yeah.
This will be the first year that we're paying for maintenance on the voting machines.
Wow. Is that for all of them?
Yes.
Is that,
We also pay for half of the poll pad maintenance out of there. And it's copier, so there's, I think, 3 different things that come out of his equipment service contract. So it was $3,000, it's going to 17.
I thought we shared that cost with the maintenance before.
I'm a little confused anyway. So each election, they charge each district a usage fee for the machines and poll pads.
where's that money go?
So they're splitting it at the moment, and part of it's going into our HAVA fees, and part of it's going into his election services.
Election service fund?
So he does pay for half of the poll pads maintenance out of the election service fund. We pay for half. Like I said, this will be the first year for the maintenance on the machines, and I'm not exactly sure if we're getting 100% of that fee, or he is, or.
So where's the payment for that out of the election services fund?
They really only have one expense, that general government. I mean, all of
So it
theirs
just
are
all
grouped
falls in
together,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
And I do know that the rental for the place across the street, he is paying that, I think, out of that expense. on that
Yeah, I-
expense.
Out of HAVA or out of his election service fund?
Nope, have it. Yep, there it is.
So when you say he's got, in the election service fund under general government, he's got,
Half of the poll pad maintenance.
right. But he's requested to spend $86,759.
So in those smaller funds, like the tax maintenance fund and election service fund, they get to spend everything they have. So pretty much their budgets work a little differently. You put in their cash forward, their estimated revenues, and then the expense side is everything that they have to spend is in there. So, I mean, you could have an elected official that spends the total amount of their fund every year, if they really wanted to.
Right. When his fees are down at 19, is it based on how
So
much?
the normal fee that goes into election services is 5% of the election costs. So he only has one election next year. So
Like
far,
it fluctuates.
right. So this year he would've got 5% of 4 elections. Next year he'll get 5% of 1 election.
You only have one election next year?
I think April so far is.
Hmm.
Now, that could change, but that's.
Mhm.
Think that he could pay for some of that maintenance out of the election services fund, but, or all of the maintenance and his rent. Anything else in his?
Oh, I think those were the big things.
Like a lot of his budget went down, actually.
So,
Budget items.
he wasn't very happy with me, I did cut some of it back. It should be a light election year, so you would expect some of their supplies and things to be down. They did say they needed to buy stuff for the following year to kind of stock up, and I told them if they had money right now to restock with what they have.
He didn't have any objections.
No. And I did check on their rental over there, you know, it's climate controlled, but I've had people in the store who are going to learn to be election officials, you know, and it is handy being there. Now, maybe when Brian moves, you know, maybe we could move it over here or something like that, but it is, convenient for, you know, Marla and them to go over and give them training. And I guess these machines are kind of temperamental, so you really do need,
Climate control.
yeah.
So next budget is neighborhood improvement districts. You'll see quite a bit of changes to it from last year to this year, just because we finally added Randall Drive in there, Parky Meadow. So we had quite a bit of upfront expenses for the closing costs and things on those properties, but now it should settle down and should be fairly similar to what you're seeing for 19 as far as annual payments and things like that.
So that's all the revenue coming in from those different projects, from the bonds, I guess?
The revenue is what they will pay on their taxes as a special assessment.
Okay.
And then the expense side is our interest and principal payments, and then we pay an fiscal agent fee once a year, usually on each one.
All the other stuff really came out of other funds. I think Road and Bridge, we ran it through both
Sales tax.
sales tax. So all the expenses to the contractors and such.
So then how does the debt service, that just pays on the bond then?
Yeah, so those are our payments on the bonds.
So we'll bring in about 106,000 and then we'll pay out.
The 108, so we have to balance the budget. There is a little bit of a cushion built into some of those payments to make it work out evenly as far as payments are concerned.
And in case somebody doesn't pay their taxes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Does, when will some of these start falling off?
We will have 2 fall off, I think, next year, I think 2019 or 2020. And then I think we have one that's 2021 or 2022. So we'll be back down in the next 5 years to Parkview and Randall.
Did we have anybody pay all their taxes all at once, or?
We did have a
On
few
those
people.
2 last projects.
Yeah, we had quite a few on Parkview Meadows, probably 10 or so.
Hmm.
One.
One.
And they're locked in now, so they only had a certain amount of time that they could pay it up front, and now they're locked in the annual payments.
And so that gets paid before the financing happens, so that it's still stretched out over so many years.
Yeah, the interest is already figured, so they can't pay it off early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next is your guys' budget, mission.
school districts again, or?
The schools goes into the school fund, this is mainly fire districts and cities. And then you'll see ours actually goes into 127 and,
Stays.
road bridge.
So that 80,000 that gets distributed to various, we get
Fire
part of that?
districts and cities.
No, we don't get part of that.
No, ours is in 127,
It's
so
already
you'll see
received.
our portion is receipted in our funds.
Okay.
This is just the portion we have to take in and pay back out, other than the schools, which goes into the school fund.
Okay.
Domestic shelter, there's not a lot there, that's the fees we collect that we distribute to RACs. And they did complete their paperwork to, get qualified to get that again. So recorder needs. So you guys talked to Judy yesterday. She did have some changes to, I think she wanted to add another full-time position. Maybe pay half and you pay half. If you guys, I don't know if you want skip over hers first and talk about hers when we talk about salaries, or if you want to.
Well, I guess there's a backlog on putting some of them books together or whatever.
Well, I think the big thing is the index, so that you can search some of the stuff that is scanned or.
Right, but can we do that with part-time people, temporary part-time people? If it's just a backlog, we just gotta get the stuff caught up. It's not a,
So I posed that same question to her, and I think the concern is that most of the time, someone's not looking for that kind of part-time job. So they're bringing in them, showing them how to do it, and then they get offered something full-time and they're not staying. So they're spending all their time training somebody how to do it, but not actually getting anything accomplished, because by the time they would get them trained up,
yeah,
they
and I
would
don't
go
disagree
take a
with that.
full-time job somewhere else.
But anytime we add a position, it is so hard to try to eliminate it later on. And, nobody really is gonna come up and say, hey, I don't really need this position. This person's leaving, I'm not gonna fill it. You're gonna fill it because when you do need it, you want it.
I
Or
mean,
when you want it, you need it.
I think you could structure that to be more of like we do with a grant. I mean, I'm gonna fund this for this project. And it's a year-to-year funding for the project, and once your project is completed, the position is no longer needed. But,
How well does that work with circuit?
right,
Yeah, with
that's the
microfilm.
perfect example.
Yeah. I mean,
And theirs is a part-time.
Yeah. And now we got two.
I'd almost rather she subcontract.
Well, it depends. That would be, are we directing the work? That would be an issue. Or are they
Right.
really an employee or are they really a subcontractor?
But I mean, if it's putting a book back together that's got historical data and stuff in it, I mean,
I think that she has to contract.
I don't
This
think
is-
we could do, I
This
think,
is taking the digital files that they got
Yeah.
from somebody else and make sure they're in the right order, and then indexing it so you can go and search them later.
maybe there's I mean, is that part of some of her software that utilizes some of that?
I don't know.
I mean, that could be like a DevNet or somebody else that may have expertise in doing that we could contract with them to do some of that. Where did what's this state reimbursement recorder user 25,000 come in?
That's the $2, so like when they created the Recorder's Trust Fund, there's $2 that's a county fee and there's $2 that's a state fee.
I see.
We used to run it through the Recorder's Trust Fund, and I approached them all and said, all of our other in and out fees run through the general fund.
Okay.
Take it out of this, and this is only your discretionary funds, we're not making that in and out payment out of your discretionary fund, so it got moved. So you'll see both sides. You'll see a revenue for 25,000, and then down at the bottom, you'll also see the expense for 25,000.
Okay.
It is literally a $2 fee that comes in and gets paid out.
So we collect it and the state gets it. Nice.
That's one of it there.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking
telling you, you just gotta charge an administration fee for collecting it.
Yeah, something.
Or you
Here's-
can put it
here's your
in
check.
30 days in the treasurer's
Hang on
note.
to it for a while.
Yeah.
We'll pay them,
Pay-
the
yeah,
same
way
rate
they
they
pay,
paid us.
Yeah.
the way they pay
Yeah,
for
way
the
they
jail.
pay our jail.
Yeah.
Hell, when we get any of their taxes 2 months later.
So she didn't have any part-time in this budget.
So,
Yes, that was it.
so the MOU's kind of up in the air. That was the MOU before, was a
Was a
part-time
part-time.
person that was funded out of the recorder's trust.
And that was a 4,000 coming in personnel services.
Well, so Ralph hadn't been using it. He actually had 15.
Yes,
Right.
15.
So he had 15,754 to use and was not utilizing it. So that 15 plus the 14,610 in part-time and the benefits on that should balance itself out.
So she collects about $60,000 in her fees, her fund every year. Is that right?
Well, it used to not be that high, but with the addition of the online stuff, it's increased some.
Right.
And that's all the fees are going in there, and it's supposed to be used for maintenance. I don't know if we got much maintenance coming out of there, none. So really, maybe that money should be coming over to GR. I'm just saying, if we're not gonna spend it on the maintenance.
Well, so one of the things that I noticed is that GR subsidizing it about $13,000 a year, so I think it should balance. She's collecting the fees. Is that right? That's what you got at the bottom there.
What,
Just the difference
Oh,
between
you
revenues
mean-
and expense.
so that 13,000 though doesn't include, because the maintenance on their stuff is coming out of Brian's equipment service maintenance. So that 13,000 for their maintenance is not included in this budget.
I think we need to look at what Brian's got listed in his budget for their maintenance on their software.
Yeah, so it's that CIC peopleware, if you were to go to Brian's budget. What was that?
We don't have to do it right now, but I think we need to dive into that.
Well, let's
There's
get
quite
a
a few
number so
people.
we can, yeah.
I get the concept of doing it with Brian, so we make sure things get paid. Kind of wish we could put a department number in front of here, so we know
Well,
whose
so-
departments rely.
We tried to kind of.
That's the
There,
one.
that one. So $16,000.
16?
Yep,
Is that all of it though?
yes.
That's just
Computer
revenue.
information concepts, peopleware.
And that went up about, 6,000 or 7,000.
Yeah, when they added the online searching stuff, yes.
That's right. So we not only paid for it, but then they recoup the money in the recorder's fund.
Yeah,
That,
yeah, I don't
I
work that
don't,
way.
I don't,
I mean, you don't get,
I think he paid the initial, but it increased our
Maintenance.
maintenance by that amount annually.
I mean, if you're collecting the revenue somewhere and paying for it somewhere else, that don't work.
and then we're having to pay to record something down there. That's what's,
Yeah, those are a couple things that I,
that's,
hopefully we can work with Judy on that.
yeah,
Get it-
that's left a bad taste in my mouth.
Be able to charge stuff, pay a bill once a quarter, or once a month,
Yeah.
or whatever.
And as far as any work that Rich Lazard does down there, it's coming out of 128 too. Fair?
I don't think so.
You don't think?
No.
Where's it going?
No, it's coming out of the recorder's trust, so pull up recorder's trust fund, 22411.
Oh,
So they are, yeah, they are paying.
Oh, no, that's,
go out of there.
sorry. Well, we
They are
used to-
paying Rich's stuff. Now, if it's something that, like, I think they replaced a server or something that Brian purchased for them, then he had Rich install it.
Where are they paying for Rich's
I don't
stuff
see
out?
any.
200,
expense on that.
211. No, there, it's coming out of their recorder's trust.
Oh.
Rich's stuff is 200, 22411.
Out of 220?
It comes out of that,
Under
book
what?
and record preservation.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know Dale used to pay for
It
it.
will, when it click on activity,
So they're
Which
paying,
one? This
that
one?
one. That one.
they're paying for computer,
Oh, see, there's
computer servers and other stuff out of book and record preservation. That don't seem like the proper category.
It's a open,
Well, so theirs has changed quite a bit. So book and record preservation was the name of it when you used to have all the physical books to look at.
that's what
And
the
it's
statute
evolved
said.
into, and that's why they've added that technology fee, is because it's evolved into a server that holds the scans and you're sitting down and searching. So book and record preservation is still the name of what they're doing, it's just no longer an actual physical.
Yeah, you can actually, when I wrote that, right, I pulled down those books, those things are big. And, but you can, but I love to just look at the handwriting, but most people are coming in, just
Can we
pulling
add
it up.
maintenance in here at some point? I know it'd be nice and clean to have Dale, or Brian, know all the different softwares that he has to help support. And that's why it's gone that way. Just so you guys are aware of it. I think we should recoup some of that.
I mean, so,
Well, I definitely think the online search fee portion of it, if you're collecting fees from the people that are using that service into this fund, then they need to pay for that portion of their software costs.
Mhm.
So if that's the 7,000 or whatever that saw the increase, that portion at least should be coming in from here. But I don't know about the entire thing or not, I don't know. I mean, we pay for DevNet out of Ryan, or we pay for, so I don't know where you draw
But we
the
didn't,
line.
nobody
is-
collects a fee for it, what we've done for anybody else, or do they? Like a software or something that he's paying the maintenance for, DevNet, we're not collecting a fee from a vendor for somebody to use that,
No,
so,
yeah, I know.
so I think it's definitely something that we need to talk to Judy about and, you know, have some negotiations there and see if she would be willing to pay for
So,
those costs, out of the recorder fund. And then, obviously, one of the other things that I wanna talk to Judy about is, I think the online service is good. I like the convenience of it, but I don't think that we should be charging people to print on your own computer, so much per page. I mean,
Yeah, I've gotten more complaints.
so, I mean, obviously, if we're printing at their office, I'm good with charging them so much for a copy or whatever that may be. And
if we're using our printer and our
Yes.
paper and that kind of thing, I think a fee should be charged. If you're using your own at home, I don't know that you should be charged.
and you've already been charged to use
Yeah.
it.
Access the
Yeah.
data.
That's,
And so, I mean, and I think we just need to just revisit that. I mean, maybe we add a little more to the fee, or, I don't know, we can tweak that a little bit. I mean, obviously, you could get the same amount of dollars. I mean, I don't even know if we need to do that. But,
Right, I don't.
Anyway, and Jeff may know more. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think you should have to pay to use it. I mean, if you wanna use it one day or something, do you have to pay anything to come in here and pull that book down and use it?
I guess I look at it differently, like if you have a title company that's searching consistently, I
Well,
think that may be
yeah.
a fee.
I think that's a different,
But I think if it's a person that just wants to do some genealogy research or this or that, I don't know that we should be charging them to
Or you
do
get
that.
5 free visits to that site a year. I don't know how you keep track of
I
that.
don't either.
yeah, something along those lines, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Because
if you're using
you're
it more
actually,
consistently than that, then you
you're
have to
saving
pay.
us from having to help somebody if you're able to go out and do it yourself, is the way I
Is
look
there
at
any
it.
valuable records or anything there that, we need to be cautious of people getting into our information? I mean, all that's public record. I mean,
It
that-
should be
It's all-
public records, yeah.
yeah, it's all public record.
Well, I think that's some of the stuff they do is go and take social security numbers and stuff off of some of that stuff, don't they?
Adapt it all, but I hope they do before they put it out there. I don't know, I haven't really gone.
I mean, that would,
Right.
that would
I
be
haven't
my
searched.
concern, that somebody being able
Well,
to get into our system and, you know,
I think Judy's been in
hack
touch
through
with
it.
some of the title companies and stuff, and she's got a grasp on what they're wanting to do. Hey, we got cots already?
Hey, Kevin, how we doing?
Signatures.
Signatures?
Yes, sir.
Good.
We pass this off to Joe real quick and I'll be right.
Okay.
Did you sign the transfer?
I'm glad we got him.
Set it up there, I don't know if
Did you
it's-
guys sign that transfer?
No, I didn't.
Good, you're not supposed to.
I know.
Why? It's just a transfer to pay for it. It wasn't a contract to buy them. So,
I'm
you're all
still
right
not
then,
signing.
transfer.
I wouldn't either.
You put that in the rent or the PO, so I can sign that.
Chicken.
You gotta sign it.
It says nothing about Stryker on here, so.
It does too.
On here?
I'll put it in the comment section.
And the,
Oh! Somebody actually writes in the comments section.
I do.
Okay, so did you guys make some notes on?
Can we take a break for just a minute and get this done so Jennifer can enter the PO?
okay.
So we,
I don't even have.
so we talked about, computer maintenance costs.
So we wanna talk about that one again?
Just-
Software costs for her and no printing fee. And we wanna talk about the person,
Part-time, full-time.
part-time,
Yeah, I
full-time.
think we were gonna do that closed.
Well, so, I called her this morning, told her to get with Jill.
Okay.
They're gonna have some discussions and decide whether she needs it closed or not,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
We're good with the 5-minute break,
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just gonna stay.
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're done.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen, for,
Can you?
All right. Yeah.
Oh.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right.
All right.
Stand up.
Thanks for,
Oh,
that's, that's what we do, that's.
Oh shit, I don't remember.
Gillette needs to go to Jennifer to get a PO in her, so I can sign it.
Okay, and then I need to get the clerk to sign it.
Oh, shit. How much more longer we got? It's about nap
Sorry,
time.
it's gonna be a few minutes.
That's okay, thank you so much.
It's 5 till 11, so,
Are we gonna be,
we're still on.
are they coming here to meet with us at 1?
yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting into my nap.
Did all right?
Yeah?
Good, good.
So now what kind of cots did Cox use?
We had strikers.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Just checking.
we went from the Furno, an old, it wasn't a power loader, it was a power cot, you set it
Yeah.
yourself, but man, those old Furno power cots, man, they had like an engine on the that gun thing, just trying to get them into a house was just, needed 3 men and a baby just to get the thing in the house, and much less porch steps, things like that, but we went from the Furno power cot to the Stryker power load, which is just like your technology and handiness. I mean, it's just.
Like a lighter. Just, they're lighter.
Oh, lighter.
Yeah, that's,
That's-
So much
that's,
You know, and of course you had the power load part, just loads of thing, which is just half of getting people conveyed to an ambulance to their house. You know, so the Stryker power loads it not only, but yeah, getting it in a house and getting it down a hallway and things like that. It's Stryker's much better.
That's why I couldn't be a paramedic either, because I'd just be like, there's no way I'm picking your fat ass up. You're gonna have to get your ass to the ambulance.
Yeah.
Put yourself away from the table.
I love it. I'm glad I didn't say anything. Matt would be like, what are you doing?
Oh.
Yeah, but I
Yeah, we can
appreciate
pick
that.
on Matt now, can't we? Hi, Matt. You know he's listening. He has nothing better to do than listen to us, right?
That's right.
Senator Blunt's office.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you.
Yep, very good.
Yes. Hi,
Hi, Chris Chevrolet.
I'm Hannah with Senator Blunt's
Hi,
office.
very nice to meet
I
you.
think I talked to you this morning.
Yes, I called to see if you all would be here.
Jeff
Yes,
Elser.
we're here.
Nice to meet you, Hannah.
I just wanted to drop in, I know you guys are getting ready to go on break, and you have a full schedule.
No, we're taking a break right now.
Well, I just want to see how things are going in the county, all going well, I know y'all are wrapping up end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, going pretty well. So, anyway, overall, good year. I think we accomplished a lot. Yeah.
Spent a lot of money this year.
That's a lot of money. Oh,
Yeah.
that's always a good sign.
Hey, we made a lot of enhancements and
Oh, that's
improvements,
good.
so
That's
I think they were good expenditures.
So federal grants, you know, anything you can do to help us on the port
Yes. the
is,
Heartwood-
is,
Heartwood Board.
is good, because that's probably our big thing coming up,
Okay.
you know, within the next couple of years. So any assistance we can get.
Okay. And now tell me where you guys are in that process. I know MoDOT approved the formation of the grant, and there's been a board appointed to it.
And we're waiting for the build grant, which is a federal grant.
So you're waiting to hear back?
We're waiting to hear back, so you can have your office in DC call. Say, where's this $1 million for the port, part of the port?
Right.
Maybe that'll help.
Now, how's the discussion going on where to actually place the port? I know you have 2 sites you're kind of looking at here. Do you know if,
So we're trying to keep both sites open to possibly utilize them for different things. And so obviously, the north side has some issues with floodplain and different things. But there might be some things that might be able to offload there.
And it's already being utilized.
Yeah, yeah.
The north side.
Well, actually, we have 3 ports in Jeff City already. I mean,
I didn't realize that.
none of them are actually a port authority, but, farmer companies have a board, what is it, Herman Safely Gravel
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
board. And then OCCI has their own board, so, where they're offloading and unloading stuff, materials, and so. Anyway, so we do have people that are actually operating and moving barges around. So, you know, have some local presence that could assist us in, moving.
So we're looking at like container ships almost that are, you know, I will still have regular barges, but it's a whole new evolution of river boats that you'll be seeing.
So we do have our economic development team as a lobbying team. And so I think they have a state presence and also a national presence. And so,
Both of those things would be important.
yeah, strategic capital, Steve Tilley.
Okay, I read about that in the paper.
And Victory Enterprises, so obviously they have some contacts, but anyway, I have to reach out to you, just visit with you on that, and so just trying to utilize that the best we can.
Absolutely. And what's the next step for you guys? Now, is it just waiting?
We're waiting for the bill.
And what's the backup plan for that? Has the state had any interest in appropriating anything for the project?
Well, obviously, we think we need to build momentum with some of that. It's not gonna, we're not gonna come up with $60 million overnight to build that, so. Anyway, so we need to create some activity, we need to reach out to local businesses and any business in this region that could possibly utilize that. And then, we met with Representative Becky Ruth up in St. Louis, she talked about possibly hiring a full-time director to go out and kind of talk to those people, just really do some groundwork. Right now, we don't have funding for that. And then the other thing was to acquire possibly some land, and so we'll be working on that capital with acquiring some land from the National Guard.
Yeah, because it's state property between the National Guard and the prison. So that area right there,
Yeah.
and then you have Militia Drive as your entrance to it. Only thing is we have to put an overpass over the railroad tracks. They said, I think Union Pacific would actually give us some money for that because that's a terrible intersection of where you gotta go across the tracks.
Yeah.
And if you're on that side, you're trying to get out, and there's a long freight train, you can sit for a long time. General Danner talks about that. And so this will make it much safer.
That's good.
But you gotta buy the land from Danner.
office director and I'm the field rep, so.
Yeah, she comes to some of our West Central commissioners' meetings out there. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm gonna leave this one
Yeah.
as well. What was I gonna ask? Oh, how do people feel about the fuel tax situation around here? Other than sad, a lot of people.
Well,
are
I
sad.
think, but you talk to some people and they say, well, highway patrol shouldn't have been getting such a big portion. You know, I think it had a lot of things added to it. But people just don't want to pay taxes, right?
It's too bad. I
Yeah.
saw Senator Blunt on Sunday, he said, be sure to let people know, I was pushing for that one to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to do something to get some of that federal match.
Yes, that'll be a big problem.
Right. So, I mean, we
Yes, we are striking.
potentially lose out on a
So
lot of
it's
dollars.
okay if that's what our check goes to,
Hopefully
is
they
that
can work on
name
something.
and I put the like
Fix it, just say, look,
whatever
maybe
the flex fee
get
was
that
that's
federal match, so.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. How long have you all been doing
Like,
commissioner?
yeah, but that's not really.
I just won re-election in November, so I just finished 4 years.
6 and Jeff's 10.
Yeah,
Nice.
Jeff's the old man.
He's the oldest. You all
He's
know-
the young
Yeah,
man,
he's
but
the
the
youngest,
oldest
but
one
I'm
here.
old enough to be their
Yes,
fathers,
that's
which is
cool.
scary.
Well-
I went to high school with Chris's mom.
Oh my
Dad.
gosh, that's funny.
Yeah.
You all still like doing the job then, I guess?
Never a dull.
I
Never.
totally believe that.
People.
Some days.
Some days.
No, always, as long as you try to do something good for either our employees or citizens of Will County, you know, it's always good, even though some days aren't always that much fun, are they?
I would totally believe that.
That comes with the job.
Yeah. So you guys have a meeting you're about to go into here?
Well, we're in a meeting still,
We're
so
working on it, yeah, we're
we've been
still-
talking to you, we're just.
We're
doing
still
all
up,
this
so
work, right?
people are listening, so.
Yeah. Well, I'll let
They
you
didn't
go.
say anything to it.
But,
Hey, great, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. And do reach out anytime
Okay.
that can be helpful. Maybe we'll ride up the road.
Yes.
I could be down here in
Yes.
30 minutes or something.
Okay,
Good to meet
great,
you all.
thank you, Hannah.
Oh.
You need a stand-up desk.
I do.
Yeah,
Very much.
I saw that out at the health department, that's,
But I want the whole thing.
I don't,
I don't want to sell it down.
We talked, because they found those things for like $100 and some odd, but it only brings your computer up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't do me a whole lot of good.
I need more than that.
I should probably. How was Griffith's
So-
thing?
It was good.
good.
Finding people. Ask Debbie.
No, they had a question on it. Trying to get it answered.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hi, Shannon. It's okay. No, that's all right. I'm here with the
That's fine.
finance. And for Cole County, they have a quick question on the W-9. Do you mind if I put you on speaker real quick? Thank you.
Okay, usually when we get a W-9, that's the name that we use for the vendor that we're paying. You know, we may have a different remittance address, so, I guess your W-9 says,
Stryker Medical.
and that's who.
Okay, we do have a different W-9, which would be more reflective of the document, so it's gonna have the Stryker Finance designation on it. Do you guys, just in case?
Sorry, Shannon, you're cutting out. But yes, can you just shoot me over a quick email? They need it.
Yeah, no problem. We'll send you that new W-9.
All right, if you guys can get it over, then we'll get this thing closed up right here in just
That'd
a
be
couple minutes.
great.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Yes,
Thanks.
ma'am.
Bye,
Thank
Christy.
you. Bye-bye. I'm sorry. I was just like, this is a new question. No problem. I didn't want to back it up like that. Wrong answer. Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
How was the Terra Road?
I don't know, I didn't make it.
Oh,
I
okay.
You just saw you, yeah.
wonder how many people showed up.
I would bet you most of them.
Ask.
By having it at Kim's school, I mean, you're right there, so
Right.
it would be,
Didn't have to go for
yeah.
Oh, yes, yep, yeah, absolutely.
it. Hopefully they can get that lady to get the right away.
Yeah. Chris and I had an interesting talk with Matt Schofield
Oh, yeah.
about holiday pay and vacation pay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, how they do it.
So far,
But
they
they,
didn't want to take out the.
Why we just start that way?
they
Spend
might
another
pay
kind of money.
full
And then we're gonna talk
for,
about that.
you know, when they're working over the party, so. And he knows the issue that they'll have. And,
Oh, recorder?
it probably would hurt.
Oh, yeah, I like that too.
I
I make it easier, I just, I love to just encumber the damn thing. So, it's not gonna come out of capital, no? Oh, yeah.
But there's no get
Oh, yeah, that's what I did transfer. Keep thinking in their operations.
kind of like.
The
So
earnings.
I created one called capital lease. Now that.
But, how was it balanced?
So really,
It's, they don't,
They have like a 56-hour week,
they
and
don't pay.
they don't pay, like, everything over 40 is not time and half.
Yeah.
12 hours of straight time over 40, and then the next 12 hours is at time and a half, so it equals out to.
I think it's a time and a quarter, yeah.
But they have different rules for fire, I mean, to
they
try to.
have their
com-
own FLIS.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
We
they have
don't.
their own set that's completely
It's
different.
kinda like the sheriff has his, that lets us do that,
So to try to
compare that.
compare is hard.
I mean, they were trying to get legislation for them to be compared to fire workers and include them in all that, but it did not
Well,
pass.
And he said
It did not
that
pass.
that was the reason that EMS from Capital Region didn't wanna go to the fire
Fire
department,
department, yeah.
because they have to be cross-trained to do both. And then they fall under those disabled.
Well, and plus their retirement fund was sinking, so they didn't want them to help save their retirement fund.
So, I mean, I don't know, to me,
Which is why we're all paying the tax on that.
Oh, yeah. We
Well,
got that.
so what if we changed our holidays to be you get so many hours a year in holidays instead of so many holidays? And then everybody's the same, you get this many hours of holiday, and that's it. I mean, that's the concept
You
right
mean just
now.
that department?
No, that in general, instead of you, I mean, we're closed,
You could take holidays.
Well, yeah, we're closed on those days.
but we are closed those days, so
Yeah,
that's
see
the
that, I don't
problem.
know how you could, yeah, I don't know how you could.
Like, I can't choose to come in and work that day and take a different day, we're not open.
People will try then, too.
Yeah. But in theirs, I mean, it is equal, you're earning the same total number of hours of holiday as I am.
We're all full-time people, you know, except for they work 2 days, we work 5, you know, so therein lies their benefit for having to take the whole 24 hours.
But in comparison, they're earning the same number of holiday hours as I am.
I mean, they're scheduled holidays, but they also have the ability to pick up shifts where nobody else does, you know. Oh. I don't care.
I mean, I think, obviously some people are gonna work more hours in a year than others are. Some of that's gonna be mandated, some of it's unscheduled.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I can guarantee you most people are gonna make more than that schedule. Flat out more than that schedule.
right, thanks, sir.
GIS.
All done?
Nope.
Finished?
44, we're on
You weren't waiting on
GIS.
me, were you? Oh, man. Thought y'all be done by now. I'm kinda hungry. You got a lunch break?
I don't have anything ordered.
Are we
I'm
going
just
past-
teasing.
Are we going past noon?
Just go, I'm
We
just
got a meeting
teasing.
at 1.
Yeah.
So Melissa didn't have any changes. There's no big changes to the amounts in her budget. But we kind of did throw around the idea of possibly combining the GIS department and Brian's department into one. What are your thoughts on that?
So then Melissa would be Brian's boss?
Huh.
They'd be equal? No?
I think right now it's kind of like Melissa has her job and she does her job and she would still be the GIS coordinator, but when Brian needs help with a project or something, I think Brian's pulling her in, and at that point, he's kind of directing her a little bit. So, I mean, I think the person we're adding to Brian's department would be like a, IT technician or something, is the title we were talking about. I think we would leave Melissa's title to be GIS coordinator / IT.
What's the advantage of combining them? I mean, why would we even wanna mess with it?
It's easier for us because it's one department, but other than that, it probably doesn't serve a huge gain.
So is it that much of a
It's a-
easier though to have one?
They work well together, so
They-
that's not a problem. right
They're gonna
now.
be in the
Right
same
now.
location.
Right.
Right now, they're crossing over to, approve each other's items. If they're one department, you know, they can still do that, but it's not like, hey, Brian, I need you to go in and you gotta find my department in here. They're one department. They would be looking for the same information.
I don't think there's a problem right now, but
Could be later.
could be if, you know, if someone, if, say Melissa leaves and we hire a new GIS coordinator, they could say, well, that's not my job, I do this. So that, I think there's some value in having one department head with someone under them to have certain duties as a GIS coordinator, but then also as you add another person, so then you create a team that could work on stuff together. So, you know, now you don't necessarily have a choice to do something, they have, I'm directing you to do something. I don't think there'll be a problem with that, but.
It's just an idea that we can, I mean, as we were going through and talking about it, the one person department
Yeah.
seem a little strange. So if there's another place for them to fit into a niche, Bill Farr's different, his fund is funded differently. He's our other one person, but Brian and Melissa were two one people departments that it's like really they could be one.
But I mean, so you bring up Bill Farr, and I think at some point that could be merged into emergency medical service or something too.
That's enterprise fund versus
I'm not
funded by
saying-
GR.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a little more complicated and number one, just because of the funding mechanism of Bill at the moment. Half of his budget is funded by the feds, and then a quarter of that is funded by the city. That the accounting for his and trying to keep those expenses separate to bill them to those people, it's easier to see him by himself.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we combine the funds, but I'm just saying at some point, that could be a subset to someone else. Just so that, I think there's some value there with Bill's assets and stuff to be, there should be someone over that should be emergency medical services. I mean, all that kind of encompasses together, but maybe not.
Yeah, the total concept of him working with the fire districts, him working with the city, him working with the sheriff, it just has worked better by himself, standalone, and then coordinate all this. If you drag him into one part versus the other, I don't know. because everybody has to buy into this concept of emergency management. Everybody has to be ready for an event, you know, so, I mean, just think about that, I guess, if you want.
Well, but we're talking about the individual, and we're not talking about the position.
Well, I'm talking about the position.
Right, so.
I mean, because if you bring him into EMS, then he's considered an EMS person, you know, that position. Versus a standalone. I have-
Coordinator.
Right, coordinator of all.
But as some of these people retire, you know, to bring someone new in that may or may not have a whole lot of experience, they're gonna need some direction.
Sure.
And who's gonna give them that direction? I mean, I just can't throw somebody in there and say, well, do it, you know?
Well, you might be surprised who you get to, you know.
And we might,
Yeah.
and we might, but, so,
I get it.
just a thought.
And they'll
I mean,
probably stay on part-time just to get them up to speed, but.
And on these two, if you wanna wait till the move is complete, so then think about changing the budgets together.
I think I think it makes sense to put them into one department.
I don't know that middle of the year is gonna work.
Well, no, I meant the next
Yeah.
budget year
Yeah,
after that.
so, yes, so I would say either say it needs to be done now, or we can wait another year and do it end of next year once they've moved, I don't know. But this time of the year is probably started at the beginning of the year and do it that way the entire way.
I'd just keep them separate personally. I'm just one though.
Do you don't account for the time you differently? Oh, we can't for anything.
Morning, gentlemen and ladies.
Morning, Donnie. I judge.
Their function is the same,
Judge.
so really, I mean, it's more convenience of one versus two.
I think why it became its own separate fund is the commission at that point wanted to really see what GIS was costing us.
Well, and that was when we moved from the assessor into general, and it wasn't,
From the city, you know, and it was all new, really. GIS was new, not her.
So will we
hired
still be
her.
able to track GIS, I mean, or not
well,
necessarily?
not by itself, no, cause like you would see her telephone line and, I mean, it makes more sense, cause her telephone line and Brian's telephone line really are the same. Why are we paying for it out of, like, really, right now, we're paying for two phones in the same office from different places.
Right.
Equipment service contract, I mean, it would be the things we're paying for GIS to the city.
Okay.
Her meetings, travels, and dues, I mean, you can still pick out what meetings she goes to.
Right.
Office supplies, I mean, they're pretty much sharing at the moment somewhat anyway. Hers
Yeah.
is like if she has the wide format printer or something like that. So I don't know, I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot that needs to be pulled out separately is the problem. Like, what is it that you're trying to track from her budget that you want to see separately? Other than maybe her salary.
Could break it out pretty easy or look at history or whatever on what she's typically spent, I mean.
Well, the history would be gone if you put them together. I mean, not gone, it'd still be out there, but you wouldn't be looking at this one anymore.
Right.
You'd be looking at 120.
So yes, you would have to put up the activity in those lines and pick out the pieces that are Melissa's.
I mean, because truly, you don't get a true cost here either, because you'd have to add the capital that we bought.
Right.
And those are the contracts that we've had with the city to pay for part of stuff, so.
And then whenever so many years we do a flyover and stuff like that.
It's not paid
So,
for out here.
You know, we're not paying for the aerial photography out here.
Where's that coming from?
And maybe just our half or whatever we negotiate with the city.
Right.
Okay. I think we should combine them.
That's it.
Sam?
Yeah, I think it makes,
Thanks a lot, Sam.
no, I had already said that
Your
I,
Christmas present
I had
has
already
just
said that I.
been sent back.
So-
I would
Retired.
ask one of you guys to talk to Melissa and just explain things.
So,
You started it.
I didn't start.
Hey, Melissa, if you're listening, y'all are being combined.
I think they work well
The plan
together.
would make it all under information systems. So
Uh-huh.
128 would be the department, not
we should probably combine maintenance and public works too, because they work together once in a while. Keep going before I get in trouble.
He's been eating candy already. Suckers.
Dude, I stopped after 5. I was ready. They've been in there so long, they're chewy. They're awesome.
You're like John.
They're like
when
Skittles,
we were
man.
at
Were those
Mac,
dum-dums?
Yeah, they're like giant Skittles.
that
On a stick.
John was popping those coffee.
After.
Oh, he was just popping
I
those,
know,
one
right?
right after another. I'm like, oh my
That'll get me
god.
enough sense, I can beat them in cough drops.
So,
Okay,
thanks,
page
Sal.
45.
127. General account. We kind of started this yesterday. So here's where you're gonna see, financials, or local use tax. We have not budgeted, like I said, the projection for this year is way higher than where we have been. We're not budgeting that. I mean, we're being very conservative with our figure just because we've seen the ups and downs of it. Same thing with stock insurance. So our stock insurance this year was way down compared to where we have been the last 3 years. We kind of left our estimate kind of right in the middle. We lowered it from where we were, but we did not drop all the way to where it was this year, but we also have not been budgeting where it has been. So we're very conservative with those estimates. If you want to change those, or, I mean, we could make stock insurance lower if we really wanted to. We could make local use a little higher if we wanted to, but I would not recommend either one of those.
Okay. But you did say this fund was balanced.
General fund is balancing,
Okay.
but we added.
I made some changes,
Yes.
but we'll look at those.
Okay.
And we will, so local use tax final payment, sales tax final payment should be coming in this week, usually by around the 7th or the 9th. So we will update to the actual here in just a few days on some of these, to what they actually are for the year. Any other questions with revenue?
Just on health insurance, what is that?
Retirees.
So the retirees pay in their premiums and we pay them back out. So
Okay.
it just kind of passes through us.
Is that like a COBRA? I mean, are they paying the full amount or?
Retirees.
Yeah.
There's actually more than active employees on all health insurance items. They pay the same on dental and vision as an active employee, other than they pay the cost of the employee. You know, when you're employed, we pay it. but,
Right.
yeah, So we have quite a few people.
So we can't really offer them the benefit of getting the same rate as us, because then it's considered a benefit, and we would have to cost out what it would cost us to provide that benefit to everyone if they retire.
Okay.
So we offer them the service of supplying a health insurance, but they pay it at a higher rate.
Well, the state, What-
How is that determined?
It's the insurance company, they use the
The actuarial.
actuarial.
Okay. Based on their age and different things, or
Just based on our group.
just
and
based on our
then-
group plan?
yeah.
Okay.
regardless of their age, the state, when you become 65, then Medicare becomes your primary insurance, and the state
So
insurance
that is
becomes
something we should
becomes
talk
your Part B.
That is something we should talk about. So right now, we don't have a restriction on when you turn 65 and become eligible, that we,
There's a different rate.
right, but we don't make
don't.
them do that as their primary. So that is something to think about, that we may want to talk about, that being that you have to go to.
And I have talked to Joe about it before, about being able to offer supplements, you know, and different stuff like that. And we have such a low volume of people, I can't address that, but the only big thing is offering those supplements. They expect us to know all the benefits within each supplement. I definitely haven't had the time to dig into it because we don't really have any. We have one person that would qualify, but in her mind, she doesn't want that. She wants full. So, yes, I could look into that in the future, but I would like to do the 65 and then say all you got is a supplement. You can't keep on, you know what I mean? I would
So
like
could
to
we
do
just
it.
stop it? I mean, once you're 65,
We don't offer insurance
We
any
can.
longer.
so So just another follow-up on that, but, so if are they on our health insurance plan then?
Yes, they're on our bill.
So their expenses and stuff were being deemed possibly by their claims?
Sure, yes.
They're included in our group, they're just being
Right.
paid in at a higher rate.
Right.
And
So
we're
it'd be
not-
just like
And we're
any-
not paying it, they are.
Right, but it'd be just like any other dependent that would be, or any employee that's
could
on
have
our policy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think we definitely need to talk about that.
I mean, the price has always been prohibitive to where there's,
Well, right, but there's obviously enough people that are paying it that there's $45,000 of,
it's
Most of-
basically, it's dental and vision.
I was gonna say, most of those are dental and vision.
I have one.
okay. One of them that takes health, the rest of them are just dental and vision.
And we do have a few that jump on in Cobra
That-
for a couple months
Yeah.
or something after they leave, but most of the time we don't have people that are on there from the point of retirement on.
Yeah, and the Cobra goes in that spot, but I could be wrong. I had names up there, so I got it.
Okay.
Other questions with revenue?
So this whole sheet is revenue?
This, yes, 46 is all revenue.
Okay. So we're collecting from the other funds for these specific items like work comp and insurance and offensive
Yes,
supplies.
so
Those
work
are all
comp-
coming in from other funds.
Work comp is, yes.
Okay.
Insurance, I think is the railroad track or something that
Oh, that the other companies
the
are
other
paying.
companies pay into
Okay.
the insurance, the line that actually says insurance.
That's the rebate that comes back on it if we get one.
Oh,
The
Oh, yes,
dividends and
yes.
the.
okay.
Office supplies is the department, postage is the department's, P-card rebate is obviously from the bank.
Okay, all right, I was curious. Good.
So then expenses in 127, we kind of went through, or started to yesterday and didn't make it very far, so we talked about audit fee and economic development, extension stayed about the same, animal shelter saw the increase by the CPI. Any other questions with 127? That capital improvement line will have the 150 for the port in there at the moment.
Just to touch on the work comp, you got 200 coming in and 258 going out.
So the employees in general fund, we don't get reimbursed back from anywhere.
Okay, so that
So-
doesn't include general fund employees.
Right, the 200 is all the other funds that pay back. And 2 copiers in there, and I think we're down to 1, right?
So EMS can pay for theirs and stuff, since we did it every other year, kinda did, I don't know, Matt's gonna grade it out or not, so. I might have to tweak that insurance line when we know what we got going on.
And cost allocation, we're now doing every 2 years, so 19 will be, they will do 18s in 19.
What is that?
It's the direct cost study, so indirect cost study.
Okay.
That we have to have in order to get the money from the child support division and division, not much, but so.
And they also do kind of a costing for the jail for us, as far as cost per prisoner kind
And
of
the cost of computerization that we charge the assessor.
thing. Right,
So we got 1.6 million that we're gonna spend, and, or I guess we haven't done capital on that, or,
That 150 needs to be done by because right now it's included in projected activity, like it would be paid out this year.
I put it up there, but I know it's hard to see. So that's why we're not balanced as of right now, for sure. But I didn't take it off of carry forward.
Not following, so you put 1.50,000. We put 1.5 million in there for capital, or?
No. The 1.5 was the health department building, we've spent that.
This is just.
But
the
included
board.
in that same line was the court agreement that I thought would be paid out before the end of the year. It doesn't sound like it will.
So there's no capital outlay coming out of it?
Nope, no capital outlay here.
Normally, there never is, except for when we bought the health department.
Right, or we did the windows. I think it came out of receivership, but, anything else?
Just the, I mean, what kind of contingency do we need to have in that fund, or is there a certain number that we're looking at? I mean, 15 or 20% or whatever?
We have the thing that Joy did a few years ago. I think 6 is where we really shoot for. Like, we wouldn't go below 6, but no, 6 is still good.
That contingency or cash is, we often talk, I mean, is there some of that that's being invested? Or is this actual dollars, or?
This is actual dollars right now, so, in the system, you will see that investment line in the assets, but it's not included in the revenue expenditure. So, like, to balance the budget, the whole amount is here.
Okay,
But on our asset side, you'll see a cash line and an investment line.
okay,
So yes, there is an investment currently, long-term investment in general,
right,
that's included in that 8,
okay,
that is invested currently.
right. So of the 8.3 million, there's, some of that's being invested, or roughly?
Yes, it's either $1 million or $1.5 million of general.
Okay.
Same thing with health insurance fund that we're gonna talk about next.
Right.
There is an investment in there as well.
So you project the cash forward to be 2.4 million? Or 2.5 million?
2519 is where I was at. That could change, obviously, depending on what kind of claims we pay out between now and the end of the year.
Where's that in general fund? I was like,
And health insurance. And kind of, I'll tell you kind of how I get to those figures is, Debbie pulls it up here. So we do some pretty good estimating as far as projected numbers. So if you take the amended budget cash forward amount, so where we started at the beginning of the year, and if we do a fairly good job of projecting revenue and expense for the year, you should be able to take the beginning of the year balance, so that 2,015,350, and then the number at the bottom of the projected column, that 504. It's over here. So this 504, 599. So if you take that plus this, it should be what we're coming up with here. And that's assuming that our projections are fairly close. If something happens that significantly changes your projection, then that number will change as well. But when we submitted it to you, we were fairly confident with our projected numbers. So kind of like today with the COTS, the 122 was not included in the projection amount, so it has a significant change in what the balance will be.
Okay.
A few of those this year, didn't you?
Few of those.
In enhancements.
And obviously we're doing well with our insurance fund. It's been a great thing, so.
So real quickly, we did put the 50,000 for employee wellness.
Yeah.
You guys are good with that? I know they presented that plan and everything, but we did put 50,000 in there.
Yeah, I guess that was that last week.
I don't know if Jeff's good with it.
They were
Have
coming.
you ever said?
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
But she came before and talked about
Yeah,
all the
she was,
things.
yeah, 50,000.
I just,
You're like, I don't know.
Bethany's gonna work on him.
I didn't even get inside the health department yesterday before she said you can't bring soda in here. And then I get to the table and everybody around there was staring at me having a soda around the healthy kids, healthy community, or healthy schools thing. It's like, oh my goodness.
Okay.
All right, I'm a poster child.
Next is
Do not be
information
like him.
systems.
Yeah, she's gonna have a work cut out.
Oh,
Kid.
son.
Information
It
systems.
could help our insurance too, though. So. Oh, sorry. Where are we at? IS.
Page 50.
IS, which is no longer IS.
It is still information systems.
Yes,
I thought we just combined them.
it's just not GIS.
I know. There will no longer be a 126 GIS. It will all fall under information systems.
Oh, the
'Cause I
power
would
Brian's gonna
consider
feel.
GIS an information system, geographical information system.
I feel bad for not fighting harder for that.
The big
Hey,
change.
can we maybe talk to them and make sure they're okay with it? Make sure they don't have any qualms about it?
Yes.
That's why
Yes.
I'd like you guys to talk. So.
We have not changed anything yet, so yes.
Okay.
I definitely think that
And
is.
just, I mean, it may not change anything, but
Right.
maybe they'll have a,
I'm only making
Good
notes
argument.
at the moment, to be like, this is what
We'll
we.
set a meeting and have them come up here and talk
Yeah.
to us.
we can shoot them an email and say, hey, we're looking at doing this. Do you have anything you wanna bring up? Are you opposed to it? If you're okay, no need having meetings.
I did kind of talk to Brian a little bit, just because it would be going into his and making sure I have not talked to Melissa.
He'd have to get some new shirts made though.
The sheriff could pay for him.
All right, you better move
So,
on.
big change in IS is this is the one department where we added a full-time employee. I did get a commitment from the sheriff to pay 30,000 of that employee salary. And it's coming out of the transfer amount that we make to the law enforcement fund, so it's reducing that transfer by 30,000. Thoughts? Yes, no, talk about it later when we talk about salaries, that's the big change in this department.
I know we can use some help. I mean, that's obvious because we got Rich doing a lot of stuff. So are we better off contracting with somebody to do stuff like we do with Rich?
Am I doing that PO for just the 1 year amount or the full amount?
The 1 year, the 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Or do we need to have another?
I think my concern with their department is that some of the things we're throwing on to Brian are large projects and undertakings that are not going away. The health department moved from him to over there, the replacement of all of the servers, I think that there's a lot more planning of things that need Brian's time that was just taking away from the day-to-day installation or helping of an email issue or things like that. That there's a lot more discussions that need to be had with someone about the overall system. So the little things aren't getting done.
So, go ahead.
He does a remarkable job.
He
And he's
does.
never stressed. You know, I think if I had all that thrown on me, I'd be,
And he's
I'd be
always
stressed to
moving
the.
try to get done
Yeah.
everything that needs
Yeah,
to get done.
he's doing an amazing job.
I'm typing an email, so I'm not rushing.
So,
Thanks.
Being honest.
but, I mean, do we need a,
I'm typing one too, it's
an
work.
IT person?
It's work.
Or do you need a body that can put computers together, to carry them somewhere, and stuff that we're paying Brian to do the IT stuff, and he's doing a lot of other stuff that we could have I don't wanna make it too low of a position to say that. It's just, we just need somebody there, you need a body, you need somebody to hand him stuff. I mean, even in the work I do, I mean, I'm the one turning wrenches, but it's so nice if you have somebody that's handing stuff to you, and you can stay focused on what you're working on. So, what kind of person are we looking at here? Are they gonna do stuff more along the lines like Rich is doing, or is it gonna be somebody just a right-hand man?
I think there's some skilled people that could not only wipe the hard drives clean, do various things, probably have some skills to do some programming, some
he can teach
fixes. Yes, yeah.
So,
I think what we
Entry
put
level.
in the budget was like what we considered an information technician one. So someone that
how
has
much was
the-
that?
Yeah, that has the knowledge and
So-
stuff, but maybe that we teach to do our stuff.
So you're saying around 30,000 is what y'all put in there?
I don't know.
34, I think.
I think we were 40 something.
Cause you said John's putting in 30?
And then that 30 is
And
for the benefits and stuff. 48. 48 is where we were. And that was comparable to a state job that Brian pointed out. So we went to the state's website and he had a couple of different names that we looked up where they were.
I'm okay with it as a placeholder. I mean, I think we see what we can get for, you know, maybe advertise a position, maybe have some wiggle room there. You know, maybe start at 30 or 35 and, you know,
And,
we
I
could
mean-
obviously have
I
some.
don't care if we do 50 and we eliminate some stuff that we're contracting out. I think we need to do one or the other. Let's get it, let's have it all in-house, or let's subcontract more out and have somebody come in when we need them.
And so I'm okay with that concept too.
I think there are a few things that'll still have to be
Right.
contracted.
But I mean, if we're gonna do that, some of these other funds you're paying for those services, so we'd have to figure out an hourly rate to charge those funds to pay out of those other funds.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and the way we can present it is, we're actually gonna save them money. We might be able to do it for less by having our own person in-house, and I may be totally wrong, because IT stuff is
Right.
just, it's way over my head. I do good to get my phone logged on. I guess I don't know, there's some,
But I mean, there might be some issues with certain people knowing certain software and different things, and so there might be that learning curve as to, I mean, the computer stuff, I think,
Yeah, general IT,
Yeah.
yes.
that the software part may be a bigger issue, but, I mean, I could be totally off on that too, but. mean,
but I think
go
I know
down
what
that
you,
road.
I think I know what you're talking about, though,
Yeah.
is having certain programs, but that's the part I wanna get away from, is if somebody says, look, I'm retiring tomorrow,
Mhm.
or I won the lottery and I'm gone, well, what about our computer system? Not my problem.
Right, somebody's gonna have to learn anyway.
Then we're sitting there with our hands, tied, we're like, oh crap. So,
So,
it's, I think put a placeholder in there,
I
maybe
think-
let's talk to Brian about it some more, and
yeah, I'm thinking maybe leave it where it's at right now. When we talk about salaries, maybe we need to dig into that position and make sure that we think we have the right number in there.
so, I mean, with the position, is it because all this stuff is happening at once? The move to the health department, changing out some computers and stuff is overwhelming,
I
so we
think
need,
it's just the fact that we've added a lot of technology in the last couple of years. And I think that Dale was gonna get to this same point. I think it just, Brian has enhanced it with some of the other things like the move and,
I
I
take
think-
it as a personality difference between the two, that Brian's willing to take on more and to help everybody solve their problem and to learn the whole system. Where Dale was, okay, you handle this, or you, I know, I'm just saying, difference in personality. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, Brian says yes too much. We need to teach him to say no. I'll take care of that.
So I'm good here. I wanna jump back.
Yeah.
So,
So, well, yeah, so I mean, we'll have to go back in the book, but we gotta do something about HR. I don't know if that's under commission, where that's at. We have got to either hire a consultant, we're too big to keep doing HR. Debbie doesn't have the time, or the resources, or the knowledge, and I'm not being mean.
I know, I agree.
So, we need to address that, because it's gonna bite us here in the near future by not having a source to go, at least ask questions, or, I mean, we gotta get our handbook done. I mean, that's maybe a separate task that we can hire
I
somebody.
thought the
to do.
handbook was done. It's just sitting on somebody's desk for
touched.
review.
It's been sitting there for 5 years,
We haven't done anything with it.
and it was done. I mean, and it was done by an HR person.
But it needs to be updated
Yeah, things,
continuously.
Yeah.
things have changed in 5 years. It's,
I mean, so, but the problem becomes is that as we address personnel issues, hiring, firing, whatever that may be, we need to be consulting, not only with our attorney, but with somebody in HR to make sure that we're doing things through the right channels. So, I think that's kind of
The manual, writing job descriptions, doing, training for all new employees for harassment. I mean, it's definitely, I kind of push that out to the departments to do,
Mhm.
but whether it's getting done, that's. And the hiring and firing, the right questions to ask, not ask,
So let's add that to personnel when we talk about it.
Yep.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
yeah.
I just didn't wanna forget about it.
Nope,
So,
nope, I wrote down. Building maintenance,
Thank you.
So do we need to put the handbook policy manual on the agenda and have it a standalone thing? If we gotta sit here all day, go through it and get it done? I mean, you want to make some wholesale changes to it, or you want to have something generic and a template and I mean, it's a living, breathing document. We can always
I think
change
we're
things.
approaching that we need to add quite a few things to it as far as HIPAA, use of computers and.
I don't feel like this group would even know what to change. I mean, we might know a few things.
Yes.
I think we know the high level things.
I think we'd know what the county is like.
Yes.
What would work and what could work and what should work here. But
We need
the
someone-
legal terms and all the other stuff would
But
be,
an
yes.
HR professional, that's what they do for a job, would come in and look at our handbook and say, here's your holes.
Yeah,
Here's
the
your things
you're
that we
missing.
need to address, and they may already have the document that we could tweak to insert.
Right, and county government is so different than a regular HR person working in an industry. It's different.
You can't do a policy handbook that's gonna address everything unless you just have one rule.
You don't want to.
Don't do anything stupid. So, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I think just some of the stuff we can, the HIPAA things, those are some new stuff with the ambulance. I think I think Matt's got his written up that should address those types of things. I don't know if
And
that.
that's the concept. Do you want one book that has all the departments' stuff in it? Or do you want one, which we have now, basically one that's kind of general, it's a
Now you're
broad
making it
thing?
even more difficult.
And each department has their own.
Which
And
I
that's what
think
she
right
was
now,
doing.
most of the larger departments do have their own.
That's right.
Well, let's set up an agenda just to talk about the policy handbook, manual, whatever, because we can probably talk for an extended amount of time about it. Maybe sit there and go through it and say, we might as well throw it in trash, start over, contract somebody to write it, or.
I don't know if we have the
I would like to give that
expertise
person the one that I had
to
given
do
her.
that.
Right.
as it was written.
Well, I think there's general policies for all county employees.
Right.
And then there's more stringent policies for EMS employees,
That are
for
more
sheriffs.
specific
Yes.
to their
But-
trade or
But ours
department.
needs to say, see your department for
Right.
more information, see your
See
department.
rule number 1, don't do anything stupid.
Well, health department,
Common sense.
health department, the
That is
HIPAA's,
a-
I mean, it's not just EMS.
Right, health, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's all kinds of
It's-
issues that
She said-
could address.
You know, I follow that, I follow the rule, but I don't.
Example of-
I try
Can't
to,
understand you.
but sometimes things get ahead, you
Do what I
know.
say, not what I do.
You know when you fall down because your legs got in front of your body, you know, you're just running and you just fall.
Okay, building maintenance.
My brain's not
Page
always kicked
52.
in.
Yeah,
That's under public works. right?
No.
Stop it.
So,
Come on, let me have fun. This is budget.
When does Greg come back? Do we want to kind of?
Greg who?
Well, he didn't have any issues with.
No, he
what
told me he
you-
didn't.
Okay, because he was one that we didn't talk to yesterday and didn't
I
hear
mean,
from,
any major changes here? or-
No, nothing major. You will see that the, utilities at the health department obviously went up quite a bit. New building, we're still paying for the old building.
Right,
You guys need to decide what you're doing with that
Right.
old building.
yes.
That would be good.
What are we doing about the grass cutting stuff?
Yes,
Have
that
we,
is another one.
I got 2 things, we kinda talked about contracting it out
Mhm.
completely. I also had one person talk to me about if they bring in their equipment, they can get it done twice as fast. So if we pay them to use their equipment, rather than us going and buying, some other equipment. I've not gotten any kind of proposal, but I can talk to them too and say it's budget time if you're still interested.
So he did have in
Is that for
his
an
capital
employee
list
or?
So-
some mowing equipment.
It's just like, the guys out at Public Works that are working on the trucks and stuff, and they bring their tools, and don't we pay them some kind of tool allowance on that? So this would be, basically, we're paying them rent on their equipment. They take care of it, they go home, they clean it up, and they take care of the hourly stuff that they gotta do.
So
Just an idea.
Right. So my thought was is to try to, Greg had some mowers and a trailer and different things that he had on his capital. My thought was to scratch all that. He's got a mower to take care of what we have now, but to maybe try with the new health department to contract for that service, free up time for Greg and them to do other things.
He's still gonna need a trailer to get back and forth with,
Got
and
a
a mower to
trailer.
move snow.
He's got a trailer. Or sitting on a trailer now. Isn't it, Danny?
He does have trailers.
Or he's using somebody else's, or I don't know.
No, there's a trailer out
It's
at
just-
EMS.
Okay, so I thought,
What I understood was it wasn't big enough for the
New
blower
mower.
thing that he needs to borrow from whatever, so, or that we have here. I don't know.
for snow removal.
Yes.
That maybe, it's not a very big trailer. It's just the lawnmower size
Right.
trailer.
Anyway, I mean, I'm open to other options there too, but I mean, if we have guys spending, you're gonna, mow grass 30 weeks a year, and so whatever time that takes, 5, 6, 7 hours a week, I mean, that's time that they could, they'll still have to spend some time to do some of these other properties, but then that would free up time for them to take care of the buildings themselves. We've always, I think he's been short a person for quite a while. Has he ever filled all his positions?
Should all be full.
Okay.
Just not what.
He just
Type of
doesn't have
person.
a second in command or
No,
an AC
yeah.
person, but he has all of his positions filled, cause he finally took that higher paid position and filled it with
Okay.
a lower paid one.
I mean, obviously, we got more building now with the new health building. So, I think it's just gonna stretch him thin, so
what did we pay to cut the grass out there at the health department? The new. Oh,
It was like 125 a week.
yeah. that was,
It's supposed to be a one-time deal.
yeah, they did that a couple times just to take care of that. That was Sam Gaines that did the park, and it was, who was it that did that?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
so-
remember who the health department one was.
I guess it should have stepped in Judy.
It's a lot of grass. It's a whole new health department.
But they seem to do a pretty good job. They've been doing it before.
So didn't we do a bid at one point of what it would cost us to contract out all of our mowing?
Yes.
It's been a while back.
Yeah.
I think that might have been before Sam
Property
knew.
that we don't have.
Do we think that maybe we should bid that again since we've gotten rid of some properties?
I get Public Works on board. I thought it was reasonable, but,
I mean, cause we do have the 18,000 that we pay from parks to Road and Bridge for the mowing and upkeep at the parks,
mhm.
which we need to talk about, because no worries.
Well, it's right at 12
Well,
o'clock.
Let's,
Yeah.
let's push through planning and then we've made it through all the general government ones. We can start with health and welfare stuff tomorrow.
I'm turning it on because Jeff's phone.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm here.
I don't know that, the two changes that they proposed in planning, I think are somewhat fluff. I mean, the public notice, the $200 that we've spent once in the last 5 years, I think that's something we could pay out of 127 if they do have something they need to publish.
Well, we just gotta remember that if it comes up, we took it out because
Yeah.
we really never use it.
Yeah.
But do we wanna leave it in there in case we do need it? And then it's there, which is gonna be I mean, is it gonna be a problem to transfer the money?
I don't think it'll be a problem to transfer the
So-
$200 that it would cost us if we did have one come up, but my problem is that it always looks kind of funny to budget a line that we don't ever use. I mean,
We get commented on
I-
that.
yeah, I
From the
get
auditors.
dinged for, yeah.
Then why don't you just take it out?
And then the other one that
Yeah, I
they
think that's what
mentioned,
she's saying, so she just,
mentioned was their vehicle equipment operation. I mean, that's, it's not any different than any other department. You're gambling on, you're hoping that you don't have problems with your vehicles, and if you do, you're gonna be under $1,700 with it. If you do, it's gonna be a major problem, and you're probably most likely gonna have to transfer money anyway. So I think that the 7,500 gives them that $1,700 cushion. If they have something else that comes up, we're gonna have to know that
so
it just was unlikely.
the $10,473 number, where did that number come from? I didn't ask him exactly.
Joyce likes to,
So does she take like as much activity as she's had and then say, well, we got 3 months left and then divide that up?
She's
and
very detailed, yes.
she's very detailed, but she
Okay.
also likes to pad or cushion herself to make sure that she doesn't have to come back and ask for money.
Well, this isn't one of them that we can go to them and go, well, you should have just been doing this and you'd have been okay. If you have to have tires, you have to have tires. One of the things you said was a $1,500 air conditioner replaced this year.
Right.
That they didn't foresee. So if we're at 7,500 and they spend it all and come in and say, well, we're gonna need an air conditioner needs done,
Yes, it needs to be done.
okay.
But she's also been in the days where we got our butts chewed if we needed to ask for a $100 transfer.
But we do that because that's who we are.
But we don't like to hear that.
You gotta do that around Christmas time, so we're all jolly.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that a $1,700 cushion gives them a fair ways to go if they would need to replace the whole truck's tires or
Well-
possibly even two.
But if you know you need tires, then I think maybe we can put that on Larry at this point is, go look and see if you need tires, cause that you can kind of
Buy 'em
prepare
right now.
for.
Everybody's needing tires, how we ought to make a,
But, you know, an AC or a transmission,
all.
that's different.
Right.
Those just go out. Tires, you can
Right.
plan for. So I'm fine with your number on this one. And if we wanna tell Larry, look, if you know you're needing 4 sets of tires,
Come tell us now.
we need
so
to,
we can put it in.
yeah,
Well,
we
he
probably need to increase it a little bit.
he needs tires, Bill Farr needs tires.
What is the rent lease payment? Is that,
So, when we pulled planning out of Road and Bridge, we kind of determined what we use of their space and utilities and things, and we pay them to house our people
Okay.
out there.
that's going back into Road and Bridge?
Yes.
We'll just tell Shannon we're getting him a moped.
And that
Or
may,
those scooters,
that
yeah.
be maybe one that we may want to reevaluate at some point. I
You
mean,
been out there
it's
riding those today?
been that way, that amount for a while now. We may want to
Just bring my
do a
helmet.
look at it and make sure that's still a good number. But it was based on square footage, which hasn't changed, but utilities may have increased a little bit.
Did you read that this morning? It gets done in there and Ashley's like, well, make sure you wear a helmet because you have to ride them on streets, not
Yeah.
that. They go like 15 miles per hour and you gotta be safe. And then you open up the next page and there's a picture of one of the staff riding one without a helmet. So that's great.
Okay, do we want to stop there? We made it through general government and start with
So-
health and welfare tomorrow?
We're gonna leave it at 7,500 then.
Yeah.
It-
Are you good?
Yeah, I mean, we can still talk.
Well, I
Larry.
mean, I said my piece.
I put
Yeah.
tires down, so I can
Yeah.
call him and ask him if he can look to see if they need tires.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, their department's one of the ones least worried about.
Are we good? Stopping
Good.
there today?
All right, whose turn to buy lunch? Pie.
Quickly,
All right, we're gonna turn this off and stay in recess.
So, we're
Recess.
only going till noon tomorrow, and there's quite a few things that have been added to the agenda first, so we're gonna have.
Got next week too, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got-
so we may wanna talk about next week, maybe doing a full day one day, so that we can knock out some stuff, because we're gonna be, I mean, it's probably gonna take us tomorrow to get through, and that's if your meeting doesn't take very long. I think I can get through most of the rest of the book, and we haven't talked about some of the stuff at all.
we have Tuesday, we don't, right now, we don't have a big agenda for
I
Tuesday.
don't think we're scheduled to do a budget thing on Tuesday.
But I know, but I mean, if we're here anyway, we just went into, just stayed and,
Or if you wanna go longer tomorrow, I don't know if we can still do that, right?
I made plans
I don't think we can.
yeah. I had-
after
I had-
lunch tomorrow, so I'm gonna, at noon, I'm pretty much running,
I think we're good.
so.
I think we
doing
just
1 o'clock
plug
thing
away,
now?
like, we got two days next week or 3 days?
I think it's only Wednesday, Thursday,
So,
12th and the 13th.
What about Tuesday?
Shit, I thought we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Add what? Just the
Well, we-
budget to the agenda? Just put it on there.
Yeah,
We're-
just-
We're good till
just-
noon. If you need a couple good hours, I mean, tomorrow, we're having my shiny little object that used to be up here.
I want you to be aware that the things that are on the agenda tomorrow, we can't talk about forever, so that we only have an hour tomorrow. So be aware that we've
No.
added a lot of things to the agenda, but we need to make sure we move along.
What's on the agenda
Hey,
tomorrow?
if we get
It's
out of
gonna
line,
take a
you
while.
just line up, let's go.
You need to give it to me, and I should have had it yesterday, so I could have thrown it at you.
Ooh,
Yesterday.
so do you want me to
Was I a pain
turn that
yesterday?
off now, or?
Again?
No,
No.
no,
we'll be staying in recess till 1 o'clock.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yesterday?
Okay.
You know, if you put a penny in it, you can bust them over your head a lot easier though.
I didn't know that. I'll keep that in mind next time I'm
Yeah, okay.
not sure what to do with it.
An empty beer bottle.
We had recess, so we will.
Oh my, that game was not even, it wasn't even a good game. It was
It is.
just, they totally dominated it.
What is
It
today?
was-
Wednesday, December 5th, we'll go back into open session. Okay,
So, we just wanted to get together with you guys and talk about some of our legislative and lobbying efforts that we'd like for you guys to assist with. And today's just kind of a starting point, and obviously we may add to the list as we go. And so, did you guys put together any items that you wanted them to work on? I mean, obviously I reached out to some of our elected officials, and I have some things here to kind of bring to your attention. But if you guys have anything at all?
No, just go ahead, no.
Okay.
I didn't make a list. And
So obviously one of the things, obviously the Port Authority's been established, and you know, we'd like to assist in the efforts of that land conveyance. And so that would be one item that we would like for your all's help there.
Certainly.
And then, so one of our health department director, Christy Campbell, she had said something about Missouri's public health funding. And anyway, kind of some of the history on that is that their funding is kind of dried up, and yet they asked for us to do a lot of things, and they don't have any additional funding for those things. As with the state in general, I mean, funding's kind of going away, so any of those things that you can help with. And then also they were just kind of wondering if you had any grant writers on staff or people that could help us with the grant writing process.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on public health funding?
I can send you the things that she sent to me.
Yeah,
I thought maybe I forwarded those to you, but maybe not.
Tommy's email.
Yeah, I'll get them to you, Tommy.
Okay, great, thank you.
So, and then, okay, so EMS. So Matt reached out. Matt Lindeworth is our chief. And he said, so obviously big government town for Jefferson City, you know, a lot of state office buildings, everything else. So, you know, a lot of additional responsibilities for these emergency services that don't necessarily get any funding from the state. You know, and that probably included, you know, Jeff City Fire, as well as JCPD, the sheriff. And the sheriff has the responsibility of the capital, I believe.
Yeah.
Beyond
Yeah,
Capitol
I think
Police,
if Governor Reitens hadn't left, I think it comes back on the sheriff to have gone and had to escort him out of the Capitol. So, that would have been our responsibility.
While you're there, can I, there are lots of different issues that arise during session. One bill slot or bill silo would be criminal justice stuff. It deals with prisons, it deals with the penal code. Because Cole County Sheriff's Department is part of Cole County, do you want us to include that in our weekly reports to you whenever session starts?
Yeah, so obviously that's another issue. And,
okay, I don't want to get ahead.
No, you're good.
You just mentioned sheriff, and so
Right.
I wanted to touch on that.
So obviously, you know, funding for housing state prisoners, I mean, the per diem that we've been receiving is pennies on the dollar. Obviously, they have a shortfall of funding. While we're talking about that, we probably got one of the best pretrial release programs in the state. And we've done that on our own. And so we really have by being able to get people out and monitor them through leg shackle or just supervision or whatever, we've been able to backfill those slots with federal prisoners, which has generated about $1.5 million. So that's, you know, that's helped us fund that pretrial program.
more right now that are out with shackles on pre-trial release.
Was there an increase in funding for that?
That new bill, they will pay up to $12.50 per day, and right now our cost is considerably less than that, but that doesn't include the monitoring, and so it's when we were down at MAC at the lake, they had a class on it, so John Wheeler and myself and Richard Lee came, and he knew more about the presenters. They all came around him and talked to him afterwards, because we already have the program, and I think we're probably one of the few counties that already has the program. So Richard Lee is really good, and the main problem with that, it's all gonna come out of the same pot that paying us, reimbursing us. So again, it's gonna be the first ones to apply, they work their way down. So as soon as that becomes, they get the paperwork done where we can apply, we need to be the first ones to apply.
That's only if convicted too.
Yeah, but it's,
So we can house them for 6 months. If they get time served in county jail, we don't get squat out of it, so.
but if you can release them, I think it's less than $5 a day is our actual cost of a shackle. Now that, again, that's not monitoring or anything like that, but that's.
So if we could get included that monitoring into that portion of it to at least recoup that 1245 or whatever. it is.
For administrative and
Yeah.
handling.
Whenever we approach the budget process for this, what are we looking for? Is there a number that we'll be requesting, or I'm trying to formulate what this ask looks
Well, I think we're good with the 1245.
Okay.
But if our cost is $5 for the leg shackle, it doesn't include the personnel cost to do the monitoring. So we would like to see the entire 1245 to cover both.
Okay.
Because if you're just getting reimbursed for the cost of the leg shackle,
And that's what we were trying to get a
Got
clarification
it.
out of. They had the director of corrections, and really none of them could answer it. So
we need to
we
expand
need
the
to-
usefulness
we need to
of the
say,
1245,
this is-
right?
If this is the maximum, will you pay us the maximum?
Right.
And,
So we're not actually asking in this specific scenario for more money, we're just
No.
asking to be able to make better use of the money we have.
Right. So somebody else the monitoring for somebody else, the leg shackle may cost $12.45 a day. Well, we've purchased our own and we actually do the monitoring. So we reduced the cost, our cost, because we either negotiated a contract to lease some, or we bought some, or whatever. And so we have a better price.
Yep. All right.
So obviously, there's a little concern over the MU purchase of St. Mary's. And just from our EMS side, and obviously being able to keep all of our transports within the city, and possibility that MU could transport from possibly St. Mary's to Cap Region within the city. So Sam probably wants to say something about that, but he can't.
I'm on a board of cavalry.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know what's gonna happen about all that, just some concerns there from EMS.
So no matter the event, whatever happens, protect the EMS piece of the pie.
Right. It could be detrimental to our EMS service if if somebody else was able to come in and just even do
Certainly.
inter-hospital transports or different things there, so.
Is the present situation where you are are you the exclusive provider of the transport? How does that?
Yes, so the law, I think, is written so that you have to, you have your area and you have to allow other services into your area. Almost, I think it's you have to almost ask them to come in and service, or they have to have permission. So, anyway, so you're the sole provider instead
Yeah, I don't know if we have to have an ordinance for that or not. I know we don't have an ordinance ourselves, but I think we can actually write up an ordinance saying we are the.
I thought
so-
Jerry had negotiated that. Osage Ambulance comes into town, you'll see Marys County, you'll see Gasconade County, but they're bringing patients in, they're not taking them back out. And what my understanding was, we had the agreement with both hospitals that everything had to go through us. Before, they were calling Osage, if they were sending somebody back to Lynn, they'd call Osage Ambulance and say, hey, come pick up Mary, she's ready to go back to Lynn Skilled Nursing or whatever, and they would do it. My understanding now is everything goes through us, and if we can't do it, if we're busy, then we call Osage Ambulance or we call Marys County. So we are the primary ambulance service for both hospitals.
And that arises from a contractual relationship, not an ordinance. Is that
No,
right?
I think
I think it's,
that went
I think
back.
it's a gentleman's handshake.
no, I think it's a state law.
Okay, so we need to that'll
Clarify
be-
that.
Yeah, the source of.
I think that the state law says we can. If we do an ordinance, we could make ourselves the sole provider.
Yeah, if you can check
Where
that
is
out
that?
and see what the statutes
Certainly.
say, that would be, then we would really know what we're talking about.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so, and then our courts, we've been approved for a Fifth Circuit judge. And, right now, we provide space for the courts, and this does every county, but being in a capital city, obviously, we have a very busy circuit court, and we're expending a lot of dollars maintaining that court, just supplying the courtroom and everything else, and so we're gonna need some space for a Fifth Circuit court judge.
Is there space over there?
No.
For $3 million, there can be.
Oh, I think it'd be.
So, if you want a number, that's the number I'd ask for.
Anyway, we would just like
That
some
was 4 years
assistance
ago.
in some type of funding to help with these state positions. Obviously, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but if you don't ask, you're not.
Yeah, that's
gonna
right.
get
That's
it.
right.
So, a lot of what we do is for the state, and so we do pay a lot for various folks over there, and, security of the building, and, just a building to house it, and it's not, it's free.
Sheriff handles security over there.
No, we have a private security company over there in the Marshalls.
Yep.
Marshalls, so we have a security company that handles people coming in, but the marshals are all present for each judge, so.
Okay.
And while we're on that, when we get murder trials transferred to us, counties that can't afford to pay those, we've got one that's coming to us that
From
it's a
Texas County.
small county, I don't know how
Yeah.
they're gonna afford to pay for it, And I'm sure we're gonna send them a bill saying, hey, this got pushed up here.
I think state statute says they have to reimburse us, but if you've got a small county whose budget's $5 million, and this is probably not gonna take place till 2021, I think. But I know what Donnie said, it's gonna be roughly 125,000, because we've gotta sequester the jury down at Doubletree, because you have to be able to close off the floor so that they can't access them.
You have to sequester the jury at the most expensive hotel in
Yeah,
town.
well, you have to have them in a place where you can actually
You
close
probably shouldn't
off.
tell them we're
Where you can
sequestering
close
the
off
jury.
the
Anyway,
floor.
Donnie, you gotta find a new place.
Oh, yeah. You'll save money anyway.
Well, maybe we'll do hotel
Motel 6.
Anybody's listening.
Just take a wing on Motel 6. Do we have a Motel 6?
Anyway, so
Okay.
it is an expense that we're gonna incur.
And that goes into 2020, right?
I think 2020 or 2021, yeah, somewhere in
I
there.
think the election's 2020, I
They
think.
keep, yeah.
So,
Okay.
so then a couple other things that I wanted to hit on. Obviously, the new medical marijuana thing passed, and I sat in on a conference down at the lake, and I think we need to be in those discussions about limiting how much individuals can grow for personal use.
Homegrown.
You know, there was a lot of issues, and I see more problems with medical marijuana than I do with, recreational marijuana, just because if someone's allowed to grow, 15 or 20 plants, it's more than they consume, and so what are they doing with the excess? I mean, that they're selling it or giving it away or whatever it may be. Law enforcement can't regulate that if somebody's within the legal limits, so, the guy from Pueblo, Colorado, he was like, most people can't smoke what one plant produces in a 30 or a 60 to 90 day time frame, and so, I mean, I just think it's gonna be a nightmare for a lot of people involved, so we
Yeah,
can
I
just,
think there's discussions going on how it's gonna be integrated into the state.
right, I don't think that they've really decided any of that, have they?
No,
We're
nothing's.
getting emails already wanting to know if we're gonna have medical dispensaries here in Cole County. It's like, it's the state's gonna tell us. what.
Yeah, the timeline for that is, it won't happen before at earliest this time next year, that a dispensary would be up and running.
We do that at the health department. Oh,
It's fine.
But yet, I understand that we will get involved in the as the department promulgates regulations, we'll pay close attention to the home grow provision.
Okay. So, obviously on the economic development side, there's lots of things that we would like to work on. Obviously gauging interest in businesses coming here, reaching out and making those connections with various people, and just, I know you guys are present and talking to people daily, and we're happy to have those conversations with you, work with you, go out and meet with those people. And we really want to I really want to look at it regionally. I mean, obviously business in Cole County is great, but business in the surrounding areas is good too, because we'll have that spillover. I serve on the Regional Planning Commission, so anything that happens in these 5 counties is all good for us as well. One thing that Jeff and I have both talked about is being able to expand our population. And someone brought to me a while back, was like, on Highway 50, there's not a truck stop between St. Louis and Kansas City. And so, to my knowledge, I don't think there is. So I would like for us to at least look at Taos. I think Jeff had mentioned Taos, and then also.
Okay, so from Kansas City to St. Louis on 50?
Yeah, 50, yeah.
I'd say the closest you get to it might be some of the stops in Sedalia.
Right.
And those aren't even really ready-made truck stops like
Right.
you'd see in Kingdom City.
So obviously, 2 areas of interest would be one in the Taos area near an overpass or something that might be easily accessible. Also, one area in the St. Martin's area where there's an overpass as well, and they've expressed interest there. But and then not only a truck stop, but also a site that could be expanded and grow and kind of grow the city limits out. Our
month of port, truck stop out there in Taos would be just about perfect. I mean, it really would.
Yeah, and, yeah, so I mean, that's a good point, like that, like, yeah, still you have the gas station, but not the full blown what you see.
Yeah. They buy a lot of food, a lot of other
Yeah.
goodies.
Yeah, I think one thing that I wanna do is meet with you all individually, and so schedule time, and just talk through, you know, kind of begin that dialogue. I think would be really, really key, cause we all have ideas, but let's bolster them and discuss them.
So, obviously, certain things we're not gonna talk about in an open session today with you guys that, you know, may be confidential and other things. And so, obviously, those individual meetings, we can, kind of fill you guys in on different things. You know, maybe different priorities that maybe each one of us have. The other item I talked to Matt about was that, the internet tax, the Wayfair tax.
Yeah.
And so that goes back to, our EMS service is funded by a sales tax, our law enforcement center is funded by a sales tax, and our road and bridge is funded by a sales tax. And so, you know, we feel like the Amazons and the others of the world today are avoiding taxation, and yet everybody that's buying those products here in this area are still utilizing those services. And so they're basically getting those services for free, and it unfairly works against our local retailers and local shops too. So
On that, following the Wayfair decision, well, for many years, they've been trying to pass, it's called the streamlined sales tax, which is a more complicated thing than I can understand or explain here. But it's a really long bill, and it's necessary for governments to take advantage of the Wayfair decision so that you can get that sales tax. And so we will keep you updated on the status of the streamlined
Yeah, I
tax
think
bill.
at the beginning of the conversation, it's just like, because with that decision, it's now kind of resets it. It's not,
Right.
it's not new, we just.
But it clarifies things, and so, we will keep you informed, and that will be part of our, you know, weekly report then.
Okay. That's about all I had. I probably had other things that I have to dig and find, but if you guys have any certain things you want.
Oh, on top of my list though was to start looking at you already mentioned at the courthouse and the judge coming in, because, yeah, we're gonna give you a judge, but it costs a lot to house them there and just to keep the lights on over there in that building. So we've got maintenance guys there that are continuously working on things, and we've got plans to put a bigger courtroom. And, I mean, it would add that 5th courtroom then.
Yeah.
And, to hold enough people for them to do jury selection. So,
You don't mind at some point as a follow-up to possibly, I've never been through there to kind of
Yeah.
tour and see kind of where.
Absolutely.
you wanna go all the way up to the bell tower?
No, say no, man.
It's a little cold today.
Say
so
no, man. It's
You gotta-
easier to
you
go
gotta
up there
tour
than
the
it's
old
going to
jail,
the
too.
county.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
That's
no,
cool.
seriously,
Yeah.
go up there, it is cool.
Yeah.
It's a nice view.
Yeah.
Kinda cold today, but
He's stressed for it.
Did you ever, I think it was, she was with OA, went up on top of the Capitol and took a picture with Sirius.
Oh,
Like
okay.
on the outside.
Kathy
No.
Brown.
Yeah, I think
Was
so.
that-
Kathy Brown, yeah.
I saw that. I mean, I go up, I take guests when they come in there, but it's just like,
No, thanks.
Sam, anything you got or think of?
No, we're gonna have to wait and see what some of the new bills that come out, you know, and.
how many have been filed
and,
thus far?
3.
About 350.
Yeah, I had heard about 300 yesterday, so,
Yeah.
pre-filed, so,
And just so you get some context, of the 350, it will be making additions now following this, but we're already tracking 35 of the 350 for you.
Okay. And
So we will send a report right around Christmas. We'll send one report with the pre-filed bills, and then once session begins on the 9th, we'll send a report report at the end of each week during the term of session.
Okay. And so will the report be specific for issues that would affect Cole County, or will it just be a general?
Oh, no, it's for you guys. It's
Okay.
entirely for you guys. And so what will be most useful to us as we've developed a relationship is if we could do maybe a twice monthly call.
Okay.
You review them and then we get on a call, or however you decide logistically it makes the most sense, but we need a back and forth so that we know that we're doing what you want us to do and not what you don't want us to do.
Right, okay. I mean, obviously, we decided to go in a new direction, and, we just want you guys out there, and we want to try to grow the county, and, obviously, funding is a big source of the issues that we have, but, we're always looking for businesses and looking for opportunities, and we just, we want to try to take advantage of any of those opportunities that are out there, and, so, like I said, we'll do whatever, any assistance with the port,
Okay.
for funding there is gonna be great, but, we know that that's probably limited as well, so.
I think it was great that Representative Ruth is now, that she thought, she talked to her. And
Yeah.
so it's just, that's kind of where Tommy's team comes in to really start.
She won her reelection, and I take it.
Yeah.
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 Yep, so I mean, it's one of the largest freshman class coming in. So it's,
That there's gonna be a learning
There will
curve
be
there.
a lot of
And
dedication.
I think you'll see a lot of them afraid to make any decisions because they might screw up.
it is,
Uh,
it was an interesting cycle, to say the least. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, so, but
So what else do you need from us? I mean, anything?
I think that's what we need. That's a great start. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
We appreciate you giving us a shot. And we will further refine your priorities as we send you reports and you just give us our feedback. And then I'm always available.
Sure.
Call me directly.
We had a representative from Senator Blunt's office stopped in today. Hannah Larry, I don't know if
Yep.
you've met her, but we appreciate them coming around.
Yeah.
So we said, help us get this build grant,
Right.
just call them and say, hey, give that $1 million to Cole County.
Yeah.
Or to the port, it's not just Cole
Yeah,
County.
yeah. That's a federal grant, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about 50 million more would be nice.
What's the decision on that?
It's supposed to find out this month, if
By
we
the
were
end of the year,
awarded.
By end of year?
Yeah, if we're awarded that
Can
grant.
we do that?
Actually, that'll come
Don't
through
you want to
the,
find out for sure?
I think the city
On the
actually
bills.
applied for that because the Port Authority wasn't established yet. So it'll be a pass-through, yeah.
Okay.
That can make a difference as to how we work on the port.
Called the build grant.
Yeah, Bill Grant, I think it used to be called the Tiger Grant.
Oh, the Tiger, this is through Tiger.
Yeah, I think it just changed the name of it, anyway, if you're out talking to people, talk about the port.
Okay.
Find out, gauge people's interest,
Truck stop over.
so, anyway, who would utilize the port, and, for me, I'm on the Port Authority board, but to me, it's still a vetting process. I mean, we still need to know if there's businesses that will utilize the port and how much, that may be a guess on their end, but, we kinda need to know who those people are, before we start building something that, may not have any traffic.
Certain.
So,
Yeah.
we don't want it to be another Boonville, so.
Got it.
Well, I've talked to Diamond Pet Food, I had somebody in from Midwest Block, they use those tandem trucks to haul those blocks. I said, you realize this port's gonna be like a mile at the most from where you're shipping, and it's 8 times cheaper to ship by barge than it is by truck. So, I mean, when you're that close,
Wow.
Yeah, and so, you know, bring it down, we'll put them on a barge and,
I just always find it incredible how many trucks that barges take off the roads.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it's, half again as cheap to ship by barge as it is by rail. So any way you look at it, it's gonna save companies, it's gonna save the farmers, it's gonna save a lot of money. You know, I think the average farmer probably ships by truck right now, but.
Yeah.
But if you can save, 8 times that, plus I think Gary Wheeler said that soybeans shipped by barge are worth 20% more than soybeans shipped by truck.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a,
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and you're absolutely right, and I think it's like 80% of what we ship on the river is commodity based. And, the biggest thing is getting it to the coast, to get it around. And it's bulk, it's very much bulk, so, yeah, no, I think it's, and just the kind of what growth could happen.
Thank you.
And we want to get Blair Oaks Day, right?
we do, yeah,
I gotta get that together yet.
we do.
Why don't you write that resolution for me? I'm kinda busy.
And did you,
No. Kristen's
I know we
rubbing
did
off.
that,
No.
Taste of Jefferson City in like January or something. But I think it'd be important for us to host a day at the Capitol, Cole County to host a day over at the Capitol or something for the representatives. Just be in contact with them and engage them a little bit more, so.
Mac has the legislative days, you can go over there then.
Well, along with all the other county commissioners that are trying to get time for
Yeah, but
that, so.
we know our reps in our Senate.
How many new reps do we have?
Over 40.
Yeah.
Well, then the chambers, is probably your best
Right.
way to meet them, but.
So I get that, I've been to that.
The Taste of Jeff City?
Yeah.
They send their legal aids over.
Exactly, a lot of them do, so,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see a lot of.
Still over there at the
depending on
Capitol
time.
doing stuff.
It's
all the time.
useful in the second half of session, especially during the longer days. Like if you have food, in that place, if you have food, you're golden. So long days, and if you have food,
Maybe a good opportunity. So,
Break a grill over there and do some deer in the
Sure,
morning.
yeah, there you go.
absolutely. I'm sure the grilling, open grilling is cool there. We'll work that out.
Didn't Bubs do that one time?
Probably.
Yeah, but he did it out on the ledge and they called the fire department. Yeah.
Go Bugs, win.
He's retired now, isn't he?
Yes. Oh, that's good. I believe that.
They typically frown upon firing objects inside.
Yeah. It's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right.
anything else?
Good. Thank
Yeah,
you
all right.
all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Before we digress.
Thanks, Chris.
Or
Thanks.
as we digress.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right,
Thank you very
thanks,
much.
guys.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what was with the game like? Just what happened? I mean,
Maybe we stay in recess till 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.